Okay, everybody, we are on episode 2 of Tales from the Flipside. CBSI presents Tales from the Flipside. I'm Dino, King of Craigslist. Everybody, introduce yourselves.
Ben S. I am live from the Bayou this week.
This is Jon Z, king of the obscure, crazy book nobody else wants.
I am Matt D. That's He-Man, if you didn't hear it.
I'm Paul, and I got problems.
But that ain't one.
That's right.
Hey, nobody likes a quitter, okay?
My
You know, it's
diet
really-
right.
It's really funny, Matt. I was sitting here in the hotel last night, and it's got Netflix, and I flipped on He-Man, was watching and fell asleep after like the second episode.
It came with the room.
Yeah. You have to log into your own account, but
And here's your complimentary He-Man episode.
The only guy on the road watching He-Man.
Like, I haven't watched it in like years, and I went back and watched it. This is about like 2 years ago. But you don't I never realized it. They never throw a punch. All they do is like pick people up and throw them. No punch ever lands. There's no violence in that show at all.
So it's like the comic book version of the A-Team where nobody hits anybody.
Right. I'm like, come on, do something. Come with the short.
Yeah, Joe, you know?
it was way, way worse than I remember as a kid.
I've been meaning to have my kids watch it, and I just haven't got around to it.
Didn't you make your kids watch Superman, or did you already say that?
We watched the original a couple weeks ago, and I forgot how long and boring it started out.
Did he fall asleep?
The little one, I think, did. And I've been trying to get them to get to 2, but they're like, I don't know, Dad. I'm like, it's not as boring. There's a lot more action. Trust me.
Wait till you see The Quest for Peace. It will blow your mind.
Yeah. I'd like to explain Richard Pryor to him, too. That would be fun. This week we went back and we bought on Amazon the Teen Titans Pre-Go, the one that was before that. And I've been watching through that because I've just heard nothing but good things. People have been saying it's better than Young Justice, and it's not there yet, but it's different. It's a little more anime, a little bit more story actually there, whereas Teen Titans Go just kind of went full crazy.
Dude, I like Young Justice, man. I can't wait for season 2 or season 3, I guess.
I love Young Justice, man. There was a little news that the voice of Ezekiel is coming back for it because I think there was some doubt with him being on Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So
I mean, did you guys watch any of the Justice League Unlimited when that was on?
yeah, it's okay. It's not great.
For me, that's probably one of my favorite animated shows of all time. I mean, I loved Justice League Unlimited. I mean, they showed characters that you never see in any other form. And they would focus on like a whole episode on like Booster, the episode where he does crowd control. It's such a good it's a really funny episode.
Well, I mean, they had Icon in it even.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I've hit bad episodes. I've never loved it.
There's some good episodes. If you do crowd control with Booster, it's really funny. The Justice League is fighting, I forget what villain, but they make Booster do all the crowd control. And it's just it's a pretty good episode.
Another underrated one, if you want to just kind of see some obscure characters, is the when they had Batman, the Brave and the Bold running.
That
was
really good.
That was good.
Yeah, that was a good. That was
very very kind of comedy versus the usual Batman darkness.
Yeah, it was kind of like in between the old 70s, 60s Batman TV show.
Yeah. It really was trying to capture the Brave and the Bold kind of book, being a little bit silly.
Right.
So.
Are any of those on Netflix or Amazon Prime or anything like that you know of?
Not free right now. Oh, Justice League Unlimited, I think, is on Netflix, or it was. I watched it there not too long ago, and Young Justice was on there because they were pushing it towards season 3. I had to buy Teen Titans. I haven't seen Brave and the Bold anywhere in a while. It used to be on Netflix, but I think it cycled out.
Yeah.
You can I guess here's a tech tip for everybody. So if you open up a VPN on your computer, which is kind of technical, but if you actually go into another like country, it's different selections of Netflix. Like if you go to Canada, like you can get, I think you can get Batman Adventures still in Canada, like the old '90s Batman Adventures.
So how do you do that?
So if you open up a VPN, I think I have. Hopefully they give us some money because I'm going to sponsor them. Let's see. Give me 1 second. It is Soft Ether VPN Client Manager, and if you download it on your computer, you open it up, and then you hit connect. And I think I haven't done it in a while, so don't. You hit new VPN connection, and then you can do. You can click on like anywhere in the world, and like you could be in South Korea, you could be in Germany, or you could be other places, and then you just open up Netflix in your new browser that pops up like a virtual browser, and it'll be like netflix.ca, and then you can log in using your American account, and it gives you different viewing options and different viewing things that are in that Netflix.
What if you're...
Do you realize you're going to have to lose Jimmy Linguini because he's now going to be watching Lithuanian Netflix and stuff?
Yeah, I know.
He's going to be fucking
Lithuanian
lost to the
documentaries are
world.
going to suck him in.
Is it in English?
Yes, it's in English. It's all
Well,
in
Canada
English.
would be.
I haven't tested out in France yet, but
What about...
there's another thing. It's called what's on Netflix.com. What's dash on dash Netflix.com, and you can select your region and you can see what's out there.
What about the other way around? Let's say I had Jimmy's login and I logged in on my Netflix. Would it think that I'm in Canada?
No, because what happens is unless you do Netflix.ca, you actually have to have the VPN creates a link where it shows your IPs in a different country.
So if I had family in Canada, though, and I did Netflix.ca and used my family member's login, then it would work without a VPN?
No, not without. You got to have VPN because so your IP address is basically in technological terms. Yeah. It kind of tricks it. It shows that your IP address is actually in the country of Canada. If you don't, it shows your IP address in America, and I don't think it'll work. I mean, I've always used a VPN, so
VPN must be like GPS.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So.
Can you say that all again?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Let's start the whole podcast over.
Wait, what was that again?
Yeah, so basically you can make a VPN. I don't know if that was South Ether VPN was the right VPN, but I'll post something on the G Plus page about it.
Maybe just post the little.
Are you talking about my question, Matt?
No.
Okay, so you make a VPN connection to a different country.
No, I got you. I was just kidding.
Oh, okay. I was like, yeah. So don't worry, it's gonna go over Sean's head. Sean is gonna go over Sean Leggett's head. So.
I wonder how his con went.
I wonder. So
well, I had actually messaged Sean. I was like, "What's this big news that's going to come out?" He's like, we sold it. Trey sold it." I was like, "What?"
Oh, he was so pissed.
How much? He was like, "Oh, like 27,000." I was like, "Really?" I was like, "I guess that's good."
Oh, I mean, he was so mad.
I think him banning Fields is the best thing, though.
That is
yeah. Kevin Fields that now owns this, right? So thanks to Kevin.
Yeah, sponsored to Kevin Fields. Yeah, hopefully he hits a little raise. So
I think my question to Sean was like, does this mean we get paid?
Yeah.
No, you just volunteer for somebody else.
I got my first. Speaking of getting paid, I got my first Ebates check. Like $11, I think.
Don't spend it all in one place, man.
Yeah, I think
so. How much did you have to spend to get that eBay?
It's like a 2%. You get 2% of what you spend if you log in right.
So about $100, 110. Oh.
It depends what website it is, and they're not really Amazon friendly. I haven't looked at it too closely, but I've spent a lot on Amazon in general, so I was like, man, Ebates is going to be badass. But when I logged in, a lot of my purchases just weren't eligible for some reason. So
I don't know. I never remember to log in right, or I'm always on my phone. So.
Yeah, I don't know how much I spent, but since they don't seem to be very Amazon friendly. Just probably my next check, I think, is under $1. If they even send it, we'll see.
Hey, I'll say my wife signed up for it back in October, and I guess they send those checks out quarterly, something like that. So her first check was really small, but then she just got one like 2 weeks ago or whatever, and it was like $122 or something.
Wow.
I thought you said something crazy like 122 grand. It's like, yeah, let's do it.
I'll be going, man, I make way more than I thought I did.
Yeah.
Just means she's spending more than you want to think she is.
That's probably true.
That sounds like a Paul problem.
My wife's actually. I'm the one who's bad with money, thankfully. Well, I don't know how thankful, but luckily we aren't both bad with money. My wife's really good with money, so maybe I'll change that someday. I hope.
Okay, so let's. You guys want to move on to what we're going to collect?
What we're going
besides
well,
comics, what we collect. Did you get the link to the outline,
Yeah, I did.
Matt?
Yep, I'm on it.
Dino, what do you collect besides comics and trade paperbacks?
I'm doing this kind of like, I don't know. I did the comic book bar kind of thing. That turned out pretty good. I did you know when you go to Walmart or probably Myers has them better, the wood backed comic book covers. Have you guys seen that lately? Like they have like an iconic comic book cover, and then they put it in like a piece of wood. So you can
it's
hang
like a poster kind of thing.
Yeah, I've been collecting those for a little bit. I got like 5 or 6 of those, so I've been putting them around my bar and stuff. I've been doing a lot of memorabilia, kind of like comic book memorabilia. Nothing too crazy, not like like I don't know, not like Superman's cape or anything like that, but
The original.
yeah, the original. Yeah,
Batman's cod piece.
yeah, no kidding. I mean,
You put that on with your
Yeah, the bustier.
your belt,
my belt, yeah,
WWE
dude.
belt.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't. That's what I've been collecting pretty much. Like I got other sports memorabilia and stuff like that, but yeah, I don't. It seems weird. I've never been like a real big collector kind of person. Like I don't know, maybe the sentiment value. I don't know. So, but I just
Ben,
put all
what
my
do you
money
collect?
in.
What do I collect?
Yeah, no, Ben. I was going to ask
Ben.
Ben what he collects
Yeah,
besides hotel points.
Oh, well, yeah, I kind of have to limit myself on what I collect because I tend to get real obsessed with whatever it is I'm looking for. So like when I used to have a card store, I still have a bunch of that stuff left. But I always went for like the weird stuff. Like I used to collect AP wire photos from
I
like
don't even know what that is.
yeah, so like back in when they had newspapers, they would send out over to the newspapers. They would send out the pictures that they would actually put in the papers, and they would be like on this weird, almost like ditto paper type stuff, and that's what they would come off the press, and then they would take them, and that's what they would use for stories in newspapers. So I got a whole bunch of them, from the 70s and 80s with like Cincinnati Reds and then I even have like some with some golf stuff with like Tiger Woods from his first PGA event and stuff like that. So I've gotten some of them signed and stuff like that. But once I got back into comics, I kind of put all that stuff on hold. And
I'm looking at some of these. They have like Rocky Marciano boxing AP wire photos. This is actually pretty cool stuff, man.
yeah, they're kind of cool because they got that vintage look because most of them are kind of faded and
Yeah, this one's like in black and white and stuff.
yeah, most of them. I think they all come in black and white. Like I said, they came because that's pretty much back in the 70s and 80s. There really wasn't much color in newspapers. So,
do you frame them then? I guess, or put them on like a mat?
No, I've got like one I've got one I got on my wall. It's got Johnny Bench when he was playing third base, and he's leaning down and he's tagging Joe Morgan as he was sliding into third. And I got both of them to sign it. So I framed that one. I've got that one on my wall. But like all the other ones, I pretty much just have, stuck in a folder somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I used to collect. But like I said, now it's just pretty much comics and
Cool.
yeah.
Sorry, Matt.
Matt.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Matt. What do you collect? I was stuck with the order of how we introduced ourselves.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, no stress. I don't collect much. Like it was just comics. I mean, I did toys for a long time, And then, you know, I go through waves, and I sold a bunch of that stuff because out of necessity. I collected, you know, DVDs at one point until they're obsolete. And I guess the most recent thing was beer. I used to collect until I drank it all.
I was gonna say, what? Like empty cans?
No, I would collect like bottled conditioned beer that would have to age over a certain amount of time.
Yeah, that's a Sean and Begley combo.
So yeah, exactly. I've talked to them about it before. I had like my favorite line was Stone. It's a brewery here out in San Diego.
Yep, Stone's good stuff, man.
Stone's fantastic. They had something called Vertical Epic. So from 2002 until 2012, they had a bottle that would come out every year. So it'd be on like 222, 333, 444, 555, you know, until 12. Every bottle was bottle conditioned to last until 2012. So I had like, you know, a bunch of them, you know, in my fridge at the proper temperature to keep them good. And one day when we were moving, I was finishing loading up the truck, and I came back, and all my buddies had these mugs full of beer. I was like, "What are you guys drinking?" I'm like, "Oh, we found some beer in your fridge." I'm like, "Yeah, that bottle you're drinking is about a $200 bottle of beer that you were drinking out of a mug."
Oh my god.
So yeah,
still your friends?
Yeah. It was fun. I mean, like, they came to help me move like all day, so I guess I owed them a very good beer. But but yeah, and I haven't picked up anything else since then. I mean, I have a couple aging right now, but nothing.
What do they classify framboise as? Have you ever heard of that? It's like have you heard of that or no?
No, flamboise.
Yeah, I don't know how to spell it. I'd have to
It's something Paul found on the bottom shelf of his liquor store.
Yeah, below the beer I normally drink. No, it's like it's. I don't know if I was going to ask you because I don't know whether to classify it as a beer or a wine or a juice, because the bar classifies it as a beer, but it's, I guess, brewed by, or at least the original is brewed by monks. But it's really sweet. I mean, it's like a juice. Has a juice taste to it, but anyway, it's called framboise. If you can find it, it's pretty nice.
Did you stumble into a wine cooler section? And
yeah, the wine cooler. Oh man, no, it's a real thing.
No, I don't know about that. Yeah,
maybe it's local. I don't know.
I don't know.
Google it, I suppose. But
yeah, that was about it.
It'd be hard to collect something that you'd want to eat or drink.
Well, it was nice because the verticals I would buy like a case of every year, and what you're supposed to do is drink one every year, so that you can taste the complexities of that bottle as it ages.
So that's what I was thinking. Is so if you get it and you pop it too early, is it worth it? Like it'll taste decent. It'll taste kind of
bitter. Like it depends. Like if you like in the 222s, I never had a 222 because that's. I think just a taste of it costs about $100. Like a little sip of it is about $200. Although Stone came out with I forget the word. They redid it for like an anniversary version of it. But I would be interested. I mean, it's kind of different because it's brewed to drink now, where that one was brewed to last 10 years. So I don't know. My favorite was the 666 year. You guys there?
Yeah, we're all just contemplating that.
Show's over.
Yeah. Hello. I'm like, did I just bore people with my story?
No, it's interesting to let it age like that. I know that my wife and I have some just some random wine that we've been saving for our probably this year, wedding anniversary or whatever, but
it's not like a true vertical. Like a true wine vertical is you buy the same bottle, the same the same blend or the same type that they like one winery might do over a length of time, and you taste the difference of each season's crops. So this was kind of different because every beer that they did for every year was a little bit. One could have been like an amber, one could have been like a darker beer.
I think it was on It's probably on Reddit or somewhere, but this guy was talking about wine snobs, or people that smell it and can tell you everything about it, including the person who squeezed the grapes. But he was saying he was at a party one time and he put it up to his ear instead. Like, can you hear? Like, I could hear the difference, or I could just feel it, the different pressure in my ear, or whatever the heck he was talking about. It was hilarious. And you feel free to steal that tip.
You know what people have done with those? Like, if you deal with those people, because wine, I can't taste the difference. I mean, you can taste a bad bottle, but if you go to like some of those wine tastings where you bring like a blind bottle, where you conceal it in a bag and everyone tastes whatever you bring, people sneak in like $2 chuck or some $5 bottle, and it usually wins or comes close to winning compared to like a $50 bottle.
I mean, I've heard actually that like in like even like competitions in like France, which is like wine country, like wine mecca, right? France, Paris, they do like it's usually like $12 bottles of wine win the whole competition, like $12. Like,
sure. Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to. I mean, I can't even pretend to know.
Yeah, I'm not a big wine drinker.
I maybe wasted a semester of my college taking golf and wine appreciation. So I can fake it like anyone else, but I think it's all a little bit individual palate too. And certain people can smell certain things, people can't. And I rarely drink anything over about $5 a bottle anymore. It just doesn't. I don't get that much enjoyment. I mean, once in a great while. The father-in-law will bring some over, and sure, I'll drink it, but I'm not going to pay for it.
Is it like Grey Goose versus Popov?
No, you can tell the difference of that. And I'll be honest with you, my boss drinks a lot of Grey Goose, but it's like, Grey Goose. You can drink Grey Goose all night and get a hangover, but you drink off 5 o'clock vodka or Popov, and it's just the worst ever. I mean, it's all about the sugar content too, and how they.
The answer is Tito's all the time.
Oh, Tito's all the time. Tito's when Tito's first came out, I kind of jumped on that bandwagon, I guess, at Tito's, but it's a really great vodka for the price point too.
Who knew we were turning into the booze show?
yeah, I think we just lost.
We got everybody hooked with show 1, and now our true colors.
Man, and I got no idea what any one person has just said. I have no clue. I'm so lost.
Z, what do you collect?
I'm a little bit. I get a little kind of focused. So really, I spend most of my money on comics anymore. I used to be into bourbon and buy some from obscure places or try and track down obscure stuff and save it. I still have some of it, but I don't focus on it anymore. If I happen to stumble upon something, I will. But a lot of comics. There's close to 80 years worth of books to be looking at, so I have a hard time spending my money elsewhere. I mean,
you have your Pog collection.
My what?
Your Pog collection.
I mean, truthfully, the only toys I have are from DeVoe. He sent them to me.
So. I remember Pogs; those are fun.
Oh no, I take that back. I have a 12-inch Tick figure that my brother found for me, and got in a deal.
12-inch what?
Cool.
The Tick, like the Tick. It like freaking talks and everything, so it'll yell "spoon," and my kids look at me like I'm an idiot. What is that, Dad?
I do have my paw collection. Don't worry about it. A bunch of slammers. Do you want to come over to my house, man? You can sit on my Donkey Kong.
Let's do it.
No, I will say I'm starting to look into books for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the paper thing. But
you were talking about that.
Well, there's a good crossover there.
I haven't figured it out yet, and there's a lot going on, and I think you got to know a lot, kind of like in comics, and I'm not willing to throw my money down, not understanding it, but I wouldn't mind getting some first edition books of some books that are important to me.
Even the Pawn Star, like I watch Pawn Stars sometimes. Like those guys, I mean, Rick knows a lot about everything, but when it comes to books and stuff, he always gets that stuff checked out. Like there's so many copies and like first editions that you think looks like a first edition, but it could be printed later. And
it's a first edition by this publisher, or there's I'm just looking at like 2 different books, and I can't find enough information to feel like a good decision yet.
Yeah.
And I'm only looking to spend, a few $100, and I'm like, Yeah, I guess the same as comics. Until you know what you're doing, you don't want to spend the big money. That's why we all kind of start small and work your way up to equal comfortable.
And I would just. Oh, sorry, go.
Oh, it was a longer tangent about books and editions. So go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's probably harder to find that stuff. Like comics, you can find around here and there, like in antique markets and Goodwills and stuff. But probably like books, like first editions, trying to find old copies, it's got to be really tough to find.
I've heard some good stories, but I mean, it's like, you go to like yard sales and stuff where people have like a lot of books, like old books they've been thrown in a box somewhere. I've heard good things about that, like good steals. Like people are like, oh, I found this in a yard sale and it's a first print of something or another.
I would think that like most of those first editions are probably like in museums and stuff. They're,
Well, no, of the old books, but I was gonna say, so let's say you go to a garage sale and there's like Harry Potter, or more modern books or whatever. On the inside, as far as my understanding goes, on the inside, it'll either strictly say first or second edition or whatnot. But if it doesn't, and there's a list of numbers literally in line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1 through 10 or whatever the last, and sometimes it'll go like 1, 2, 3, and then skip to 18 or whatever. Whatever the highest number is the printing that book is.
That's not always true. I was looking at one, and it's kind of the reverse, and it's got 1 to 0, and they take off 1. So the first print has 1 to 0. The second print has 2 to 0. The third print has 3 to 0. But I don't think it's consistent at all.
As far as,
like I said, there've been multiple, even of the limited books I'm looking at, and I'm not even looking at 1800s books. I'm looking at last
Joy of Sex
40 years.
Chicken soup for the soul.
I'm actually collecting first edition chick lit.
Well, then never mind about that. Well, the other thing, as far as what makes a book valuable, would be first print, signed, and then there are even errors. I know we've all seen recently, errors in comic books, but double printings in pages and back to Harry Potter. There was one of the books had a conversation that was like just totally jumbled, where it wasn't correct. The wrong person was speaking or something like that. But yeah, there's all sorts of different rare stuff for books too, for that market.
And signed does seem to be in books like,
the opposite of signature series.
Well, no, it seems to be a plus, but there doesn't seem to be as much verification or as much concern about it. And I don't really understand it yet. I mean, like I said, I've just been researching a couple weeks trying to figure things out, but
I mean, like the market's bigger though.
But it's not like us where, it could be signed and not witnessed, and screw that, we ain't buying it.
Right. Well, yeah, the markets are opposite size-wise.
Yeah, and then the authenticity part of it too. Like, say you buy one that doesn't have a COA or something. It's like even you watch on shows and stuff, like they bring in like handwriting experts who have, and all they're really doing. I mean, I'm not saying they're not smart guys, but they're taking like samples of the signature and comparing to what's on the book, and they have like nuances and stuff, obviously. But sometimes they can't even say like for 100%. So they're like, it's like 95% sure you might have signed it. Like,
So you got to remember, these people go on book tours. They travel the country, and they have thousands of people. Depending on the author, hundreds to thousands of people waiting in line. So I mean, there's no one checking. Giving them certificates.
No, they don't have COAs and stuff.
Yeah. Would you guys say the same thing for a comic? If you're getting it signed, a book, a regular book, or a comic book, and you're not going to send it right to CGC for a comic book, just see if the guy behind you in line or the girl behind you in line can snap a picture of it being signed. I mean,
but that doesn't mean anything to me either.
Yeah, but it can't hurt.
Well, but that could be any book. I mean, you could be standing there with one book, and all of a sudden you just go home and sign 30 of them. Yeah, I mean, I don't think a picture would make it wouldn't make me any more likely to buy it.
Listen, I don't do autographs barely at all. I mean, there was a brief period before I had kids that I was collecting some like sports memorabilia, nothing crazy, a lot of Purdue stuff because that's where I went. But that market is rampant with forgery, and it's all, I don't know. That's why I'm not a big signature fan in general.
I collect books for this just one author that I like. So I have like the Korean version and the Spanish version, and a couple of the German versions, just for the different covers. So it can be kind of like comic books in that aspect as well, for tracking it down and collecting it.
Is the author Judy Blume?
No. I told you that in confidence.
I'm trying to get my Super Fudge signed.
I've seen some stuff in antique markets and antique shops that, man, this is cool. I'd almost pay for that. I saw supposedly a first edition Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and I'm like, I'd buy that, but I don't know enough about it to know that it's really true.
Yeah, and like when you walk into an antique shop too, I kind of avoid antique shops now. Kind of, it's like you're always paying full price. Like even if I find comic books in there, they're like way overpriced. And
right.
You know, even if they don't have a price, she's like, oh, $5, and it's like $1 book, like legitly $1 book. It's like I don't know.
You used to be able to, but most of them are getting smarter. I mean, you almost have to just get truly lucky and just hit somebody that knows nothing and is just dropping some boxes off they picked up. At which point you mark that place down and go back. But
it's same thing with like flea markets. Like I have a big flea market, probably like 30 minutes away from me. It's pretty well known around Michigan at least. And there's like a couple of comic book people in this big flea market. It's open like on the weekends only, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But he always tells everybody, yeah, you might get lucky because I haven't priced anything in like 4 years, right? So like, okay, that's cool. So you go looking in there, and there was like even before Deadpool came out, there was like months and months before Deadpool came out. He's like, yeah, I got New Mutants 98, and it was probably like, I don't know, maybe a 9.0. He's like, yeah, like $500, man. It's like, so you haven't priced it 4 years ago, but you've priced yourself from the market. So,
yeah, I mean,
Dr. Manhattan.
It's tougher to find things out there, and everybody's a little more educated than they were, and there's just so much focus on comics now.
Yeah, eBay's changed the game. It really has. Like to look up on eBay real quick. It's
Well, yeah, and so let's say you're you're looking up, you have a flea market store, so you're trying to price stuff, and when you pull it up, you're pricing at what people are trying to sell it for because you don't know how to filter the sales results, and yeah, it's gotten crazy. Have you guys ever been to one of those flea markets where the people aren't there? They just have their stuff priced.
I have.
You just
that's all over the place here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. The haggling is half the fun.
I don't know. You occasionally catch a small gem, but I've not had any giant finds. But I mean, I remember somebody we know on the site found a Werewolf by Night in a dollar bin at a freaking stupid flea market not too long ago.
My
happens.
My LCS got a big collection in, and one of the customers was digging through it and found a Batman Adventures 12 in there, and was nice enough or stupid enough, depending on how you look at it. They brought it up to the counter, and they're like, "You guys don't want to sell this for $1."
Well, they would have figured it out too.
Well, no. I asked him because the guy who I normally deal with, there's only 2 guys there. But I asked him, I was like, "Wow, I mean, that's incredible. Would you have honored that price?" He was like, "Yeah, I would have sold it for $1." I'm like, Jesus.
Well, that's a good shop if they do. I mean, I've met some that will, some that won't.
The thing that irritates me the worst is when you're digging through a bin, even at a local comic book store, antique market, and you go up. I was in Wisconsin when I went to Summerfest there, and we stopped by a comic book shop. And I walked up to the counter, and I had some Del Autos, and I had a couple other things. I mean, it wasn't like mind-blowing stuff, but I walked up to the counter and said, "Hey, man, I'm interested in these comics." So what does he do? He goes, "Okay." And then he just proceeds just to go on eBay right there. And I'm like,
you just have to walk away at that point.
I still, being the deal maker that I am, I still made a good deal on it. So.
Well, I tell you what, if I go somewhere new that I don't know, if it's not clearly marked on what I'm paying, I'm asking. I'm like, "Hey, what are these in this box?" Just so I know.
Before you start even flipping.
Yeah, because I went to one that had a basement full of books, and the same thing happened. I didn't pull out anything great, but they were some $10 and $20 books, and they started looking them up, and they were looking them up on like Comic Price Guide, so it's even worse.
Yes,
because that's like completely illogical pricing, and I'm like, I'm not wasting an hour doing this again.
Yeah, I went to a shop. He had like good books in one box, and it was I was coming back from Ohio, and I went up to this and I started digging. He's like, "Hey, those are all my personal books." So this comic book owner like picks all the good books, I guess, puts them in a personal box each week. I'm like, oh.
Where was the box that you were able to dig through it if it's his personal stuff?
It was just sitting on the counter. Like, I guess I went on I think it was like a Thursday or a Wednesday maybe. So it was the day of or the day after. I don't know which one, but he just had it sitting out there, and he had like a whole. It was a short box, and it wasn't like it was completely full. It was like 3/4 full. So it's just stuff he was, I guess, wanted to read or.
I mean, even the shops that were kind of slow to adapt are slowly moving. I mean, not to say 100%. Some of them still they're like, we're going to work on customer satisfaction and price things mostly fair. But they're also the ones that aren't ordering 100 or something. They'll get some 1 in 25 variants, but they're not going to chase a 1 in 500 for it because they don't care.
Yeah,
it's not their meat and potatoes.
Yeah, my LCS is the same way. Like the one that's closest to me, he orders maybe a max of 5 books of each issue. Of something, if he has it. Like he didn't have any God Country. He didn't have what else didn't have?
Probably 7 to Eternity.
Yeah, he didn't buy. I think he bought like 3 of those. But
that's how he'll go broke.
Yeah, but see, he has auctions on Saturdays and Wednesdays where he buys collections and then pieces out the big keys. But they all go for eBay prices, so I don't even go. It's like. And there's just guys out there who have money to move around and think they're big and bad. It's like, if you want to pay fair market value for, I'll say like a Tech 359, like go ahead and pay eBay value. I mean,
to be fair though, if they're looking in the market for it, at least they can have it in hand and look at it and they know it's not going to get messed up.
That's true. I mean, but the other problem too is I sit there and I talk about it and I tell these guys, it's like these guys will just bid up the thing just to bid up the thing. I think the best deal I got, and this is how shitty it sounds. I bought that deal last year, Z from Indy, when I got that Omega Man series, that whole run. I got it for $30. I mean, that was like.
Well, that's the thing. So you also remember we collect, but a lot of us think if it's fair market value, I'm probably not buying it unless it's something that I truly want. That once in a while book. But there's people that are just collectors, and they're going to pay what they see when they see it, because they're afraid they're not going to see it again, or they may not see it again. I mean, a lot of the keys are not out there, and
Yeah, and I don't have a
real world. They're on eBay, and people that have bad experiences on eBay don't want to go back. Or there's people that have, just heard horror stories and they don't want to do it. They don't, they're scared. They're intimidated by it.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with that. I have the problem with the legit sharks out there because I know these guys have like other stores, or they'll just show up at this place and be like, "Oh, I need to buy some inventory," and then they'll just slap another $100 on whatever they bought. You know what I'm saying? Try to sell it at their place. So that's part of the game. I mean,
yeah, I think I would probably. I mean, if I have it in hand, I'd pay extra than to not have to buy it off eBay, just because I can look at the condition, and I'd much rather just walk away with it than buy it off eBay.
For me, like pressing has changed that game completely. Like if I can look at a book, I don't mind paying market value if I know that I can press it up. Or I should specifically say if Trey can press it up.
I saw someone online that was saying, am I the only one who thinks that pressing should be considered a defect or restoration? And I was thinking in my head, well, then is a signature considered a defect? I mean, how far do you want to take it?
I mean, it's kind of like if you don't have a certificate, it's considered graffiti, usually. Although I find that the market has changed a little. Like I can sell signed books without a COA easier than I could have like 5 years ago.
Since you brought up signatures, I stopped at a store down here today. And it was something strange. They had a
neighborhood.
No, down here in New Orleans. No, they had it was whatever the first Hobgoblin is, the ASM, whatever that is, 239. Yeah, whatever it is.
239.
Yeah, but it was blue labeled from CGC with both Ramita signatures on the bottom, and it specifically stated on the label, it said writing on front cover, but it was blue labeled. It was not green labeled. And I didn't know that they would ever blue label a book with signatures on
it.
That's something Jimmy would lose his mind over.
Maybe they couldn't verify it, I guess. Or,
well, I mean, obviously, it wasn't yellow. It wasn't yellow labeled, but it was just regular blue labeled with both signatures in it, and notated the signatures on the the CGC label as just random writing on front of book or something like that. But I'd never seen it without having the green qualifying label.
Maybe that was a Sean mess up, like his cable book,
I don't know. Maybe. Just never.
Check the group chat.
Yeah.
Sorry. What were we saying, Ben?
Oh no, I was just saying I'd just never seen that before, so it was just kind of completely.
Maybe it was that guy's last day. He's like, just blue label it. I gift to the public.
I don't try and figure that stuff out sometimes. I mean, I just trying to play the grading game sometimes on how they'll treat other defects. I was looking at a book today that had an odd defect. It's not a cover crease. It's not something visible. Like a pop staple, like an internal tear. How are they going to treat it? It's anyone's guess. Are they going to green label it or are they going to blue label it? They don't give you a choice. Like, maybe I want to take the points hit and to get a blue label, but they don't let you choose that. They're going to give you what they choose to give you that given day.
Yeah, and speaking about Ben's book, so I'm looking at my local comic book store's auction right now, and they have Amazing Spider-Man 239. It's green labeled, and it says name written on cover and marker, and it's signed by I think like JR. So I mean,
right? Yeah. It was the exact same book. Just instead of the green label, it was blue labeled.
This is a 9.8. So I'll give you guys this one. So let's see. This one's going for, it's a 9.8, and it's not, I guess, bidding in like 5 days or 2 days. So you still got some time on it. 5 days. So it's already at $50 right now for a 239 9.8 qualified, signed by JR. So I don't know what it's going to get to. It'll probably get to what, 75. I don't know what a 9.8 is going for, but it'll probably get to GPA at least.
What about your actual book, or whatever we want to label it as? Your non-comic book favorite book.
Oh.
Man, I haven't read a book since high school, so.
Animal Farm.
No regular books for me.
I've been getting in. Oh, sorry. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'll start us off. I like zombie fiction. So I like two great authors that I like are J.L. Bourne. He did a series called Day by Day Armageddon, which is really good. And then there's another author called DJ Mollet or Moles. It's Molles. He did a series called The Remaining, which was really incredible. So if you like short reads, J.L. Bourne has shorter books. If you like long reads that are also top-notch quality, DJ Mollet is a good one with his Remaining series.
That's cool.
That's my top two.
I've been actually getting into reading more, I guess. I started reading like Da Vinci Code because everybody read the Da Vinci Code when I was hot back in the day by Daniel Brown. But I've been getting into reading more. I got like a bookshop almost, like a regular bookshop where you could trade books back in after you read them and stuff. So I got James Rollins, I got James Patterson, I got who else I got? I got Sidney Sheldon. I got some Lincoln Child and Douglas Preston. So it's like most of it's like detective-ish kind of novels, I guess, or suspense novels. Like Alex Cross is another, something like that style. If you've seen the Alex Cross Along Came a Spider movie or something of that nature.
That's cool.
So that's what I've been reading. So.
Everyone else just comics?
I kind of suck. I don't read enough. I mean, I'll read bits and pieces, but I barely get comics read when I have time. I've been purposely trying to read some more of the more trades and some more classic stories anymore, but I don't go back and read much. I mean, I'll read the new like Chuck Palahniuk books when they come out or something, but I don't have like a ones I just go all the time to go get.
Yeah, it's for me, like, too, it's like I don't know. It's like I wasn't very good in English. Like I was a math person, so I didn't like to read or write or anything like that. But I'm noticing now in my older years, I guess you can call them, that I can read. Like I'm reading right now. I'm reading like a James Rollins book. I'm reading the Iron Fist trade paperback I just picked up, and I was reading The Watchmen all in 1 week. So,
well, The Watchmen alone is freaking 2 weeks worth of reading.
Yeah, but you don't have any kids.
Yeah, I don't have any kids, and I got the girlfriend, but I mean, yeah, it's like I have time to do that, I guess. So,
the issue is my reading speed is pathetic. Like my wife will sit on her phone and we're watching a TV show, and she's playing a game on her thing, and then she's reading, and she'll read a book in 2 hours.
Yeah, that's me. I can do the same thing. Like I think I read 400 pages in 8 hours, so like 60 pages and like an hour roughly. I mean, it depends on the font size.
A book in 2 hours. I'm like, I can get to 2 chapters in 2 hours sometimes,
Yeah, it has to be
in 2 hours.
Yeah, it has to be something I'm like into. Like if it's something I'm like, it's a grind to like grind it out on. Like obviously it's or something I don't understand really well, jumping around or something of that nature. I can't do that. But if I'm into it, I can read it in a matter of hours.
I mean, it probably depends on the book. Like, I assume reading like the Twilight series is different than War and Peace,
correct?
Or the Iliad,
How was the Twilight series, Matt?
my wife really tried to get me to read it, and I was like, I read the Harry Potter series, and I read like Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it. I couldn't get and she wanted me to read a bunch of the stuff that she read, and I'm like, I can't. Like even reading comics, like I don't know how many of you guys have kids, but like the only time I can read is at the end of the day, and if I sit still for more than like 10 minutes, I'm out. I'm asleep.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get to them until the end of the day usually, or like sometimes a weekend I get an hour here or there to read.
Yeah. I can't even imagine like getting through a book. Like, yeah, no, there's no way.
No, book, it's literally, I might get through half a chapter. I'm like, all right, I'll pick up tomorrow.
Yeah, I just read slow because I don't want the story to end if it's really good. And then I can't read. It's hard for me to read if my wife's watching TV or my kids doing whatever they're doing. But I read slow, and then I get distracted easily. My phone's near me or anything else is going on.
I mean, that's the key. I think having and people need, I mean, same thing with comics. Like if you have a good reading environment, like that's like not having your phone in reach distance, not having a TV turned on, something of that nature. Like I mean, it is like having a study, it's like having somewhere where you can get away and like everything's turned off, or music and all that stuff. So I mean, it's all about the environment you put yourself into too.
I was reading a book one time when I was younger, and I don't know, I was too young to drink or anything, but I like just had this crazy space out moment where instead of reading it, I was just watching it like a movie. I don't know if I was just reading it so intently that instead of reading it, I was just playing it in my mind so hardcore that I was literally viewing it as a movie. That was wild. It only happened once. So I don't know. Maybe the bread I had on my sandwich was expired. I had a short trip or something, but it was crazy.
Yeah, maybe we should save that conversation for Paul's problems.
The great bread incident of 2017.
Isn't that how they said I think that's one of the hypotheses of how the Salem witch trials happened. There was like mold in the flour or something crazy like that.
Well, back in those times, it could have been anything. You could have walked funny and could have been convinced of witchcraft. So.
Yeah.
So is Coy our only listener right now?
Eldon Cooper's on. I see him on the YouTube chat. Shout out to Eldon.
We are competing with The Walking Dead, so let's not.
Yeah.
And we didn't really say we were going live. I think we just threw it out there.
Yeah, we kind of did. So
I didn't even know we were live.
We are live. Sorry, we are live. Huh. Yeah, I guess we could talk about that too, because like we talked about doing it live, but then The Walking Dead's on, so it might be hit or miss some weeks. So we'll see. But.
Oh, if you do it, guys.
For those 3 fans that don't watch The Walking Dead and want something to do on Sunday night, we'll be here.
Yeah.
Right.
Every other week.
So what? I clicked on the YouTube link and then I just muted it so I can view I can click over to that tab and watch the comments live if you guys want to do that.
Correct.
But
Say hi to Coy for us.
Coy hasn't said hello at least, so I don't know.
He doesn't like us. We're the B team, remember?
Yeah, second fiddles.
You guys are not allowed to talk about Koi. Only I can.
That's right. Now I have to pay you.
We're going to keep a running tab. So you guys want to keep going on? Then
yeah, I was going to say something. What are we all chasing? I guess I added a sub question. What are we all chasing that's attainable, and what are we chasing that's unattainable?
Like comic wise?
Yeah.
All right, hey, I'll go. I'll jump in. All right, so I'm chasing, and I've never actually found. I find tons of stuff in the wild because I travel, and so I see a lot of shops. But I've never ever seen that Darkwing Duck #1, the 1 in 10 variant.
Where is that the Batman Returns?
Yeah. I've never seen that, and I want it, and there's only one online, and I think it's actually Ben C's. It might be, but I'm not 100% sure. But
better Ben C's than Walker's.
Yeah, but I've just never found that one. So if anybody ever sees it or whatever, let me know.
Any condition, I guess. Let's talk about that. Any condition?
No. I mean, I want it to be not. If I'm going to spend the money on it, I want it to, because nobody else. I mean, it's not like it's going to ever be, some ridiculously priced book. But if I'm buying it to keep forever, I want it to be nice. I don't want it.
Is it a #1?
Yeah, #1. They did a San Diego Comic-Con one that's similar, but this one's the incentive variant. I think it was a 1 in 10. It's kind of where he's sitting on like the top of a bridge or something like that. But I don't know. It looks pretty cool. I was a huge Darkwing Duck fan.
Wait. He has a bridge in the background?
No, he's like standing on a bridge, like on the.
Send me a picture of it. I might have found it for you. Maybe.
And unattainable, I will never probably have it, but in my mind, I think at some point I will have the money to buy one. But I want a Tech 31, but I probably will never ever spend that kind of money on a comic book. So,
oh man, even terrible copies.
Even a 0.5. I mean, I'll probably just never have it. I would never buy one restored either. So,
I think that's a book you have to settle on sometimes. But even those are crazy.
Yeah, but
that might be the second most chased Batman, or third maybe.
I'm sure it probably is. But I just think it would just be, if I win that Powerball, that 310 million Powerball, then I'll post it that I bought it. But
you could all buy us one. You could buy each of us one.
Everybody gets one if I win the Powerball.
And you get one. It's like Oprah.
And you get a Tech 31. And you get a Tech. Look under your chair.
It's all crinkled up under everybody's chair. Ben's just laughing.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I'm looking for.
Nice.
I can go. I don't know. I've found that I try and set some goals every year for what I'm looking at, what I want to do, because otherwise you just kind of catch everything that's shiny, even though what I buy isn't usually shiny. It's usually old and dusty and terrible. But I finished a couple runs last year. My goal this year is to finish up an obscure kind of horror title. It's only got 13 issues, so I thought, that'll be easy. But I've only got through 7 of them in 2 years. So it's called Horrific, and it's got a ton of heck covers that a lot of them are just faces, and it's just tough. It's a son of a gun to get them all.
I know a person who has a #1.
I got the #1.
Okay.
Yours is a slight upgrade from mine, but
it is.
Maybe. Number 1's tough. Number 3 is the bear. It's the one with the guy with the gunshot to the head, and that's probably the one I'm gonna have to sell something and just pull a trigger one day. But I haven't seen much up other than a 1.5 that's just more than I want to pay for a 1.5.
that place where we got our number 1 had a number 3. It was probably listed years ago, dude, but I saw it at least.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And some other goals I set for the year. I want to get a pre-50 action, not a not a nice high grade copy, but like a 2.
That's cool.
At one point, I had an action 33 that was like a 1.5 that I sold, and I'm kind of thinking I want to maybe get that one back. But I just kind of want an old action, I think.
And that's attainable too. I mean, it's not like you're out there like saying you want an Action Comics number 1. I mean, that's pretty attainable, I would assume.
No, you can get it for $400 or $500 on the right day. So maybe even less on a good day. So those are kind of my this year's goals.
Yeah, I like that you have comic goals. It's like on your vision board, and you have a.
I'm telling you, otherwise you're just staring at eBay and you want a little bit of everything. There's some variants on the list and some other things. I think that's a topic for another day. But there's always other books. But if you kind of set a few things that you want to go, I talk about it with my brother Mike all the time, because he's like, I get $300 in my PayPal and I just start buying shit. I'm like, well, sometimes you got to say, I want this $500 book, so I got to keep saving, and I got to kind of have a plan.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easy to like, and that's part of when I started doing the risk analysis and stuff. It's like you always got to have a plan when you have money, because you start going out buying books and thinking, oh, I'm gonna buy $101 books or $5 books or whatever the amount of value is, and thinking you're gonna flip them or sell them or try to achieve something. But it's like sometimes you can spread yourself out a little too thin, and then it.
Yeah, I mean, if I see a good deal, I still buy it, and I may keep it, might sell it, but I sell comics generally to buy them. Yeah, every once in a while I cash out and do something nice for the wife or the kids, but it's my pay for my hobby. So what do I want? What am I selling these other books for? Because sometimes there's books you don't really want to sell, but you want that other thing more. So it just helps to have that goal list sort of, or at least a plan. And you can change, because somebody can post something in the pickups page and all of a sudden you go, oh my God, I've never seen it. I need it. But
yeah, we were kind of
keep a list of those top couple things you're looking for.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that the other day. Z is if I want to start buying some of that pre-code horror stuff, I mean, I don't want to just start buying it, having no clue or no direction. Otherwise, I'm just going to end up with a bunch of stuff. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do with this now?
No, and I've done that, and I end up with stuff. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, and then you start getting. I mean, there are. I'm going to say I'm not going to generic everybody, but there are people out there who collect pre-code horror or like Golden Age books, but they're few and far between of the new style kids, especially like when me and Z and Stein and Paul, we go to Indy, and I had 2 amazing detective books from the 50s, and I got them for a good deal. I'm, not like saying I didn't, pay market, but they sat on the back rack for how long? The whole weekend probably, and not one person asked me about it. Not one. I don't think one person knew what they were, except for one of the guys we know who was there, who collected only Golden Age.
Well, I was talking to Ben about this, so I guess we can talk a little obscure of. Even within those categories, there's keys, and there's just sort of run books, and those were kind of in between. They're kind of not quite runs, because it wasn't. They had some kind of claim to fame that they were very early, pre-code horror books, but even in a series of, even in the horrific run that I'm collecting, there's only one true key and a couple that are a little above the others. Everything else is a run filler book. So you looking for a run filler book it's gonna take a long time to sell unless you just price them to move. But the keys within there, the classic covers, the things that kind of catch on it, and that does change over time.
But how many people actually are going to talk to you about horrific? Like, who's going to walk up and just talk to you about horrific books?
It's a bigger market than the run fillers, but yeah, it is. And I don't know. You've got to be a little educated, and I tell you, I worry about collecting Golden Age to a degree. There is the nostalgia factor. There is the older generation that grew up on these that are kind of dying out. So I try and find books that have some kind of something to catch on with the newer generation a bit. A great one is the Chamber of Chills 19. It it appeared on the cover of the Misfits album. So that connects to a whole nother generation. They want it. You know, Sean talks about that book all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that price going up. Some of them have been used in homage covers. The Shock and Suspense 22 that was used in a Wolverine cover. You know, people see that and then they go, "Oh, I want the original." You know, sometimes artists catch heat, and some of them are just iconic. They're just there, and we've seen them 1,000 times, and everybody wants those handful.
Well, you know, and then you got to think about this too. Like, I have a lot of older people who I work with, and a lot of guys are retiring right now, right? So they're gonna start buying things that they were as kids had. You know, like I bought a motion lamp for one of my guys at work, and it's from the 50s. It's a reproduction, but it was in the 50s, and what it was a scene, and it had a light bulb, and then when it turns, it makes it like a car. It looks like it's moving in a lamp. Well, that was a big thing in the 50s. You know, so it's going to be interesting. Maybe we might actually see a renaissance of golden age and 50s books because of people retiring. A lot of baby boomers retiring. And, back in the 50s and 60s, that's what they grew up on,
Yeah, I guess
or they have them and they're going to sell. So it's kind of a dual thing.
Yeah, maybe you can answer this, Z, a little bit better because I don't. My knowledge is kind of limited. But so, like, when you think of like the books that were in Sodi, like, I mean, how big of a deal was that? I mean, obviously, none of us were alive then, but I mean, was that like actually like a big deal nationally, or was that just comic people knew about it?
I think it was bigger than just like a small percentage copy, because it was kind of cut in book bans and things like that. So it was there. I mean, it was big enough news that if it were happening today, it would hit the news feed fairly often. Kids are getting corrupted by this. Kids are doing that. I mean, just think of any time something terrible comes up on the news now. Same kind of thing would come up. So it did, and like I said, I struggle because what is the age that some of these books will go out? Look at westerns. Westerns are so out of style, it's terrible. And everybody jokes that I buy them. I've just bought a few because of the artists that worked on them, or a few of them have some covers that I think are a little bit unique. But there's 500 photo cover westerns of people that nobody cares about anymore. Lash LaRue and those kind of people, and they're just gonna die. I have a collection of the Disney's Davy Crockett covers, just because my kids and I watched them again a few years ago and they loved them, so I bought a few cheap. But they're not going to be worth anything in another 20 years. So it's all an age game. Kind of the same thing as everybody preaches: buy silver, buy bronze. What happens in 30 years when all these people that have collected all that want to sell it off at the same time because we're all retiring? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, it's the same thing as Classics Illustrated. I mean, look how many Classic Illustrateds came out between 41 and 71, and nobody buys them.
Yeah, but those are like the textbooks of comics too.
Yeah, that's true too.
So I don't know. There's always there's iconic issues, and there will be. They'll shift, they'll change, and new ones will pick up. I mean, one of my favorites, Black Cat 50. Had some rumors that Frazetta maybe did some of the art in it, and that book went from not obscurity, but it's a $1,000 book in good grade now, just because of rumors that it picked up heat and boom.
That's the one where his face is getting eaten off, right?
It's melting. Yeah, it's like radiation burn. And I picked one up at a lull, and it's a beat copy, but it looks pretty from the cover. But that's a book I probably won't likely get. And it wasn't hot in that it is. I think a whole new generation saw it and kind of got into it, and the Frazetta rumor got into it, and I don't even know if there's any proof to it at all. It's just a rumor.
Well, I mean, and economically speaking, back to your point of if everybody sells off at one time, it's price elasticity and stuff. So if more stuff comes into the market, your price is going to go down. I mean,
well, and the golden age is a whole different age too, because the quantity out there is so much more limited. We all know you get to silver and you get to bronze.
And
there's hundreds of thousands of copies of some of these books that we are depending on our children's wanting as much as we do, or our children wanting.
Mm-hmm.
So if people saying they're going to retire off first Ghost Rider and first this and that. They're not going to lose money in any time soon, but there may be an expiration date on some of this stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's funny. Remember Ghost Rider with Nicolas Cage came out and it was kind of awful. It's like, I think people are just hoping that the renaissance and resurgence, especially with women in comics now. It's like, you see Ghost Rider. I think people are trying to bank on a Ghost Rider movie done right, or a movie done right of a kind of other comic book hero. I think that's more of the gamble nowadays than actually the collecting part, I guess.
Which, if they're gambling on nostalgia from people remembering that movie being great, too,
Mhm.
which I get. I don't know. I mean, nobody's reading some of these comics anymore. I mean, nobody's reading some of these Marvel stories. Kids aren't going to look back and go, man, I remember when I was reading it. The print runs are smaller. They're not 100,000. When I was reading Amazing Spider-Man in the issue 200s and the late 100s and, up to 300, the print runs were huge. And there's a lot of kids reading this stuff, even just just reading it, and they aren't reading it now.
Well, and that's the same thing with Golden Age. Like, if anyone's actually trying to sit down and read like Action Comics from 1 to whatever, it's like back in the day, just the grammar from nowadays to last time, it is a tough read. When they say G Willikers and all, it's just it's tough to read. I don't see a lot of kids getting into it and like, oh, this is like the best stuff ever. It's like trying to read Shakespeare.
No, but there was tons of kids reading it because the print runs then made the Bronze Age print runs look small. I mean, some of these books that are rare were in the millions of copies. I think I don't know millions, at least single million.
Yeah.
I mean, they were printed like books, some of them. I mean, I think the print run of some of these is astronomical, but it's that they've made it this far. Once you get the Silver Age, print runs went down some, but the collectability started to be realized. So 60% made it, and Bronze Age, 85% of them made it. So it's kind of that survival ratio. The Copper Age, 98% make it.
Yeah, I mean, when you have, you got to think about the 50s. Nobody back in that day was thinking about preservation. A lot of kids were, buying their, penny candy at the old convenience store and picking up the latest comic, whatever that was. You think they were going out and like, oh, I'm going to stick this in a board in a bag and never read it, So.
Yeah, they'd roll it up in their book bag.
Yeah, they're doing a Mel V special.
Mel style.
or throw it in their wall and use it as insulation.
Well, people would actually like make their comics last. Like if you ever heard of Pop Hollander, you see him on eBay once in a while, people talking about it. He would actually take the comics apart, use some kind of tape on them, use something to preserve the paper and restaple them. And, so they would last 100 readings because he would resell these books 10 and 20 times or more. But like the collectability of them went to hell because he was preserving them so they didn't fall apart.
Correct. But a Pop Hollander book would be pretty cool to own.
That's true. That's one of those things. Like if you haven't seen it, eBay one, you've probably seen them and went, "Ooh, those are terrible looking." But that would probably be on my bucket list some point in time.
Yeah, Pop Hollander doesn't get enough credit of what he did in at least the restoration field. I mean, and I guess it's not when we think of restoration, everybody goes, "Ooh, ill," kind of like.
I would call him preservation.
Yes, the preservation of things that made, especially with CGC with the new preservation labels, I guess you would call them. I mean, he was the pioneer, I guess you would call it, of preservation back in the day. So a lot of his techniques are probably still used today.
It's funny when you talk about like those print runs and stuff, and then we always see those questions pop up on G Plus and stuff like, oh, I can't believe that anybody would spend, $700 on a book from 3 years ago. I'd much rather have, spend $700 and get a low grade, Incredible Hulk 181 or something like that. And I think that's the thing is you just go in and just click on eBay and, just type in Incredible Hulk 181. And it pops up, 700 copies for sale or something like that. And, it's so readily available that I do worry that those Silver Age and early Bronze Age things are just not going to have that long-term value that I think everybody thinks they are. And I think some of these variants are, just because they're just impossible to find. I mean, you can't. They're just not there.
Well, I think that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother episode. But I think there's going to be certain ones that are going to be collectible. The same thing is the cover art, the appeal, the mass appeal versus just being rare.
Well, I mean, and we'll take that. That's a good example. I guess I don't want to get too much of a tangent on this, but it's like, think of Batman 121. You look at eBay right now; they have 18 for Batman 121, which isn't that crazy. But if you look at Hawk 181, I mean, Hawk 181 has 195. I mean,
yeah, and that's just what's for sale on eBay. I mean, you go to a show and it's like almost every dealer has a Hawk 181.
And I bet you, how many dealers you think have a Batman 121 sitting on their shelf? Not many. At least I don't see it. I mean,
no, I think some of the sites, and even ours is thing of the weekly variant that's hard to get. Some of those aren't going to be worth shit. We know that. Some of them that are sell now for 40, 50, 60 bucks, they aren't. Who knows? Who knows which one is going to become the one that in 6 months is $100, $200. We watch it all the time on the top 10 books that were kind of hot. Go away for 6 months and then they come back because nobody's letting them go.
Right.
Great. Well, and then the thing too is, like, look at all the books that we found or we've known that are from even like 2000, 2004, 2005. Look at Nyx. I highly doubt anybody thought Nyx was going to be what it was, or NYX, or how you want to say it. Now it's a $300 book. That's what's going to happen nowadays with variants. It's going to be a new, younger crowd like us who get into comics, or another resurgence because everything's cyclical in life. So in 15 years, like, some kids are going to get back into comic book superhero movies, and it's going to be like, hey, this thing back in 2015, God and Country, when it was a $10 book, is going to jump. I mean, at least that's what I think. I mean,
no, for sure.
So
I just bought 15 copies.
Done.
See,
well, that's next episode's Paul's problem.
Everything that Z talked about, it was like, it's so, I mean, it's interesting for me, but it's like, it's almost Greek because I don't know any of that time age at all. It's so much like, when you go hunting, you have to have a good amount in your head of what things are worth. Just you have to do it by sight because if you're flipping through 15 long
you got
boxes,
your phone out, you're the asshole.
Right.
That's me. I'm the asshole. I won't lie. It's not like I have it right.
Can be, but just time wise, it takes way too long to look up every book. I mean, you can take a stack, flip through it, but.
And if you're at your local shop and they see you on your phone nonstop every week, they're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, well, and the thing too is, like, even me, like, I have a pretty photographic memory. I know most of the keys, but when it comes to variants and stuff, like, I'll see a variant out there and it's like, I don't know which. I mean, I know the big variants off of Matt's list, but I mean, it's like I have like every variant known to man that it's like, it's just too much knowledge. I can't do it.
Well, I don't think you can, and I think that's. I think what Matt's saying is that it's okay on especially on some of those rare variants, because, I mean, I do that all the time. I mean, I'm like you, Dino. I kind of remember covers pretty well, but man, it's like if I see something that I just have never seen. Like, I mean, last week I picked up that Vampirella Alex Ross.
Don't get me started on that one.
And when I first saw it, I was like, oh man, that's an awesome cover. I was like, but I've never ever seen this before. And then I had to actually look it up, and I was like, oh, okay, well they only made 750 of these. Mm-hmm. I was like, so I just need to go and buy it, just because I didn't think I would ever see it again. So I think when it comes to some of those really rare ones, you do have to have pretty quick fingers to be like, just kind of do a little bit of research and say, oh, okay, well that was a 1 in 100, or that was a, I've never seen that before. But yeah, I mean, you can't just stand there all day and just look up every single book.
Oh, I don't. I mean,
put that in a hall post, Ben.
What'd you say?
I'm trying to find that cover. Did you put it in a hall post?
Yeah. It's the reverse of Vampirella 1, the original. She's standing backwards.
Yeah,
but there's a common one with the title on it, and there's the uncommon with it's a virgin.
It's a virgin. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it's been on my radar for a while, but I never seem to have money when I see one.
So I guess
to be pointed, I was at Half Price Books today looking through bins, and it was only let's call it about 12 long boxes, 14 long boxes worth. And there was some guy on his phone looking at every book he picked up. He made it through one row. I made it through 13.
Yeah, no, I love those people because you can beat them out.
And sometimes I'll pick books up, and at the end I'll look and go, okay, I'll check these 3 or 4 and put some back. But I'm going to clear volume.
Yeah, let's talk about. I guess this is good. I guess this is a good starting point. So let's talk about strategy when you walk into a shop.
Is it a Sagoo?
Yeah, it is a Sagoo. It is a Sagoo. So let's talk about strategy, I guess. So what's everybody's strategy when you walk in a shop? I mean, I'm not saying some little shop that has 3 short boxes that you can rock out in like 5 minutes and walk away. I'm talking like somebody has like you said, 20, 30 long boxes. What's everybody's strategy? I love to hear this when you walk in. Like, and you don't know what they have, kind of. I mean, you know, your local comic book showing what they have and if they restock and stuff. I want to hear everybody's kind of strategy when you walk into the shop, and what do you think?
I'll start off. For me, I go straight to the dollar bins because it might, like, the one thing that I'm on my stores about are how often they refresh those dollar bins, because they get, like, around here, they get so many books traded in that so many of those books, the store can't always keep up on everything. And so a lot of them go straight to the dollar bin. So it's a matter of getting to it first to find the good stuff. And a lot of people leave stuff behind, like stuff you don't realize. So I'll hit those dollar bins first. And then, like, if it's like a Wednesday, like if everyone's running to the shelf or to grab variants, I'm going straight to the dollar bins, and then I'll come to the rest.
Now, are you going for something specific, or are you just going in things?
No, I just hunt. I just love hunting. I love flipping through boxes and just coming across something, you know. That's a lot of fun for me. I know, like, certain people like hate flipping through boxes, but and a lot for me, it's just like sight. Like I recognize, I know moderns really well, so you know I can recognize, especially what, you know, like Z and I have been talking about it a lot, but we've been doing a lot of independent stuff, and so I've been like kind of learning more about that stuff because I've seen a lot of that traded in. I'm talking like, you know, early Eclipse books, early Mirage books, stuff. Some stuff goes for something, you know, and a lot of them don't. Like, you know, the first Fugitoid. It's not like a very expensive book, but it's pretty cool to find one in, you know, in a dollar bin, or just even raw in a store, because you don't see them.
No, yeah, you gotta kind of go to the fringe and expand your knowledge on some of this stuff, because people will look at Eclipse and go, I'm not even looking at that box.
Yeah, no, and that's why I love when dollar bins come. I'm like, did you guys get any like weird stuff, any independent stuff? Because that's the box I want to go through first.
Yeah, nobody else is looking. I mean, I found a Coyote 11 the other day. Okay, I'll pay $1 and make 40. Great.
Yeah, like I got, you know, the tick that I sold you, Z, was the first appearance of the tick. I found that in a dollar bin. Yeah. I pulled it out of the dollar bin.
I might own 1/1000th of that print run at this point. and all of them 9.4 or better.
I mean, but for me, it's just that hunt. I just love going and digging. I mean, it's nice to find the variant that you're looking for, but lately for me, it's so many of those variants are either gone before I get to the store, or my stores aren't ordering enough to qualify. For that reason, I forget who mentioned it earlier, but was it you, Dino, who said your store only gets about like 5 copies of everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, like my stores out here, they own 2 different stores, but both of the stores that I go to, they each have 2 stores. So they order a lot, but they still don't order enough to get 1 in 50s, because they're only doing, you know, 10 copies per store.
And I think that's the variant market nowadays. I think it's becoming more rare, because I think from a business statistics standpoint, and the risk is, you know, if I buy 50, 100, 500 copies, unless you're Midtown or some big, obviously bigger comic book store, that's a huge risk, man. I mean, at $3.99 a pop, you know, for a variant. I mean, how many people are going to buy 50 copies of, you know, God and Country, or, you know, whatever, God and Country #2 to get the 1 in 50 variant that comes out, or whatever it is? So, you know, not too many people.
I'm trying to follow some trends. Like in 2012, like you go back to those Venom variants, and I was trying to follow, like when I was doing research on the Mary Jane one, I was interested to know what it was doing the week it came out. And when it came out, it was a fairly hot book. It was selling for about $75. You know, for a first weekend for us, that's pretty hot. You know, everyone's trying to clamor for that variant. But no one could find one. So people were throwing in, you know, in these chats, hey, does anyone have a copy? I can't find a copy. And I kind of see that trend happening now. So like that Deadpool Brooks variant, I think it was Deadpool 25. That's a book that I want to hold on to because you look on eBay, there's only like a handful. That tells me that people didn't find any. And you flash forward 5 years, I mean, I think that book is going to be, I mean, that's just one example, but I think a lot of these variants are going to be.
I mean, here's another good example, and it's 2015. Remember Wonder Woman 38, the Finch variant?
Yeah.
Everybody slept on that book. I mean, I remember we were part of the group. I know at least a lot of us were. And then someone posted, how did we miss that one?
I did that. It was in my day after. It was in my day after where I said the day it came out, I was like, how did we miss this one? It came out yesterday. Did anyone get a copy? And then at that point, it was selling for close to $200 the next day.
Yep.
I will tell you that's one of the handful on the variant list that I don't have that I want. I mean, I went through your list purposely the other day looking, and I'm like, I have a couple, and I only want a couple. Like some of them just don't speak to me. They're just not my thing. They're spawns. They're things that just aren't me.
Sure.
But there's a couple, and that's one. And I tell you what, was anybody watching that Gal Gadot one?
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of those. I think
there was the one that was Gal Gadot signed SS, and that thing went way too cheap for I think how rare it is.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Because everybody got the photo variant of her signed, but I don't think very many people got that one signed and got a 9.8.
No.
So that is a cool book.
You know, and if you do get a raw one, send it to me, and Finch will be at Motor City. So if it's not in Indy, you know, if you want it signed at least.
Well, listen, I don't want it signed by most people, but I think a Gal Gadot on that is an interesting book to go with.
That is cool. I mean, it is cool. I mean, you're gonna see a lot of Wonder Woman books that are gonna get her signature, which is gonna be interesting because, like, even in me being a wrestling fan, like Hulk Hogan, right? Hulk Hogan's and Stan Lee's the same way. He's devalued his signature by so much. It'll be interesting how her signature gets devalued over time.
Depends how much she signs. Yeah,
she's done a decent amount compared to some of the others. I mean, you don't see Robert Downey signing. We'd probably leave this topic to Jimmy, but you don't see a lot of the other ones signing all the time.
But you look at people who have left the roles, like you know, like people who played one of the, like Dean Cain, like he's signing that stuff like left and right. A lot of these guys are like at all these conventions once they've left the roles, and you know it's been like 10 years. They're at conventions constantly signing.
Did you pick Dean
Cain was my go-to. Yes, yeah.
No, it's funny. I'm going to I'm setting up in a small show in Elkhart, Indiana, which is like the 25th largest city in Indiana, and he's signing at that show.
Well, get an SS.
I'm not. I'm trying to acquire books with this photo on it so I can sell to people.
That'd be awesome if you had like an action one and you got like Dean Cain.
That would be funny.
No, he did. They did, but they didn't have any photo variants of him that exists or any kind of like that. So I've just found a trade and I've found some magazines, but it's not like they put him on the face of comics.
Right? Yeah, that's true.
Which is weird because what was Dean Cain comic? Was that 92? Was that in the 90s? Right? That was 90s, right?
Yeah, it was in the 90s, and that show was big.
And you figured they would have. I mean, I'm saying Dean Cain's a pretty handsome dude, right? I mean, for back in the day, I mean, he was like everybody's like, oh, Dean Cain. You figured he would do some type of photo variant of something like that.
And there's not like, even the original Superman movies had adaptions with the photos and things like that. And the Spider-Man 80s show has at least one issue, the 262 or something that has it. So it is odd that there aren't a plethora of books like that. But yes, I get what you're saying. Is once they're out of the role, we'll see what happens. Actually, I don't see Robert Downey changing his patterns.
I'll send you something over chat. You might want to buy this one. But
are there? Do you guys know? Are there any like SS of Heath Ledger out there? I mean, are there even any available?
That's a Jimmy question.
I can look right now. Give me a second, but that's a Jimmy question.
How do you look? You can't track who signed it, can you?
Well, I mean, I can check eBay
can
real
Google
quick.
it, I guess,
Yeah.
Like for me, I have I bought actually I traded Rich Callow for a better copy of Wonder Woman 77, the variant for that. Which is I love that variant. It's one of my favorite variants. I think it came out last year. But I really, really want to get Linda Carter to sign it. That's an SS I would love to have. So
he has at least one on eBay right now that Heath Ledger and Christian Bale signed a comic book together.
Nice.
It's going for $120, and I don't know if it's going to be good, but it's Batman 44, 444, stalking the crime smith, and Bale and Heath Ledger actually signed it. So
it's probably not a bad deal, really.
Is it Jimmy's?
And I don't think so.
Here's an interesting book. Let's play this game a bit. Let's find one of the Supermen that are not doing well right now, or not unrealistically well heeled. Let's get a Superman book signed by Kane, the Smallville Kid, and Roth.
The Smallville Kid.
That would be awesome. I would buy that.
Tom Welling.
I would do that. I mean, because those are the Supermen I grew up on. Dean Cain was in my childhood. Smallville I watched religiously, and then give me Roth, because that was kind of that first movie back in. That would be a cool book. Get all three of them to SS that.
And I bet you somebody else would think that's a cool book, and I bet you could throw that up and sell that.
I would think about buying a book like that. Just because it's so random.
I mean, how about this? How many books do you think will get signed by Gal Gadot and Linda Carter at the same time? Or at least have an SS of both.
Enough.
I mean, what would you buy? I guess would anybody buy a Wonder Woman 38 fence signed by Linda Carter and Gal Gadot? I mean,
I wouldn't have Carter sign it, but if you had them both in the same room, I might.
Yeah.
I don't think it would hurt it, but there's something for me, and I know like Trey's had this discussion too. Like, too many signatures just look so ugly on those books. Like when you see people who have like 10 autographs, it just to me it looks.
It depends
terrible.
where they sign.
And I wouldn't probably do it on a book like The Finch. If I were going to do this, the fictional Superman one, I would just find a cool cover that's not that collectible.
Would you? How about this one? Would you?
How about like Action 419, the one where he's flying in the gray tone cover? I think it's a Neil Adams, something like that. Something that's not obscure. It's $30-$40, and you just got all of them to sign something like that. But you sure don't want them to sign the $2,000 variant.
Yeah.
Not that there's any Superman variants that are $2,000, but still.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's interesting. The auction or the signature game is I don't do signatures either. I can't stand on lines more than anything.
No, I mean, we were all at that con and we didn't even. Somebody went to get a couple, but nobody really went to get any.
Oh, did you remember? It wasn't last year, Z. It was 2 years ago. Remember when Leia was there and the line was around the block, man? And
people waited 8 hours.
Oh, for her to sign some stuff. I mean, and that was before all her great, health issues and stuff like that.
That was before the movies were out.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I can't do it. I even somebody with no. I don't like talking to people. I don't like even people I admire. I don't really want to go up to them and go, "Great work. Can you sign this for me?" It's not my thing.
Yeah.
I just feel they get the same shit all the time. Like you can't go up to them and wow them. Like I'm your number one fan. I feel like I'd rather just leave them alone.
I don't know. April O'Neil loved me because she thought that I was a good person getting you that signed comic. So
yeah, man, you could have had a good night.
Yeah, maybe.
I won some. I was trying to get signatures. This is the one time I tried to get signatures. I was trying to get a Leisner sig and maybe a sketch, just because I like his sketches, and I thought I found him because I was following the signage, and I was like, oh hey, can you sign this? And he started doing his sketch, and I was like, I'm a Savage Dragon. Why are you drawing Savage Dragon? He was like, I'm Leaffield. I'm like Eric Leaffield. I'm like, oh, or not Leaffield. Eric, what's his name?
Larson.
Yeah, it was Eric Larson, and I was like, so I had this like Savage Dragon, Larson SS book, and I was like, ooh. I was like, oh, sorry. I tell you, I even called him the wrong name, but he was.
A Savage Dragon is one of those characters that it feels like that might be a nostalgia character that picks up in a few years, just because it was like in our group. Close, we're all in the late 30s probably, except Paul I think's a little younger, but that character was like number 2 behind Spawn, and there is just no love for him. And I think in 10, 20 years that might be one that's interesting to see what happens.
I was kind of looking. I was actually researching this yesterday, and this is a side tangent. But during the Image launch, I don't know if you guys have watched the documentary. It's actually really interesting when Image did their first initial launch. They started it at Golden Apple here in California, and so Golden Apple has these first day of launch signed signature books. It was like Wildcats, Youngblood, Max, Savage Dragon, and Spawn. So they all came with first day of launch signatures and COAs. And they're really, really tough to find. They're each limited to about 1,000 books, and you never see them pop up on eBay, or maybe like one here and there. And when they do, like I know my comic shop has a Spawn one. Listed for about $130, but those are pretty cool if you ever see them.
Yeah, you've talked to them with me about it a few times, and listen, out in my neck of the woods, we aren't going to find them.
No, they would pop around here more.
Yeah, same here.
Well, it's funny. It's so I was talking to my brother about a similar thing. Nowhere near as popular or as cool, but Ethan Van Sciver, his first character was that Cyber Frog, which for a while was a $100 book here and there because nobody found it. But it was published out of Elkhart, Indiana, which is northern Indiana. It was the same place I'm going to the show. And so he's found about 10 of them randomly here and there just because everybody has them in their boxes somewhere. So like that's something that regionally you could find. If you had an artist that kind of grew up in that area and had a publisher in there, there's regional things you can find.
And he's one of the nicer guys on the circuit. He'll sign and talk to you, and no problems.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of those artists that are considerably more approachable than others.
Yeah.
Not that I would know. I don't go to any of them. They scare the shit out of me. But
it's kind of similar in Ohio. I mean, with Bone, because Jeff Smith is from Columbus.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if anybody's going to have a Bone 1 randomly in a box somewhere, it's going to probably be somebody in Columbus.
And yes, I'll check for you. When I go to Toledo, I'll check for you, Z.
That's actually really interesting to like play it by location, because you don't really think about that too much, but it does. I mean, you could have it is an interesting strategy if you're hunting for a specific book.
Well, you got to think too, like even I think if Paul's around, was like, what was Turtle? Turtle's out of New York, right? Was it East Mid New York?
Well, that's where it's set, but they're in Massachusetts, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, I bet you have a better time finding Turtle stuff in Massachusetts than you do anywhere. I mean, maybe at least number 1 first prints.
But then they came out here, and they were out here for such a long time during when it was still growing. So I mean, it could.
Yeah.
Follow it here. Who knows?
I stepped away. I don't know who answered the attainable, unattainable, but yeah, the unattainable for me would be a Turtles number 1, of course. But
it's not unattainable. It's just focused attainable.
Yeah.
That is a borderline book. I mean,
if I wanted to go like number 1 first print 9/8.
Well, that's unattainable.
Right.
But to find a 7 or an 8, you could do it, but you would have to focus time on it. I mean, I've bought some books that at one point were unattainable for me, but I've flipped some things, I've sold some things, I've got lucky, I've done some things, and they become pseudo attainable.
Yeah, it's not even me. Like for me, like and Z knows Z's bought half my books. Like Aquaman ones. It's like
And you sold me that, and it is still worth the same 2 years later. Goddamn.
Yeah, it's for me.
But I bought 2 other copies that I made money on. But that one just sits here, and I look at it all the time and go, God damn it.
Yeah, I know. So I made you hold the book on that one. You were holding the bag on that one. No, for me, like, I get the thrill of the hunt more than anything. Am I looking for anything attainable or unattainable? It's like, like I look for like big stuff. I'm kind of over the small stuff, and I hate to say it, like almost like a beer elitist or a snob or a comic book snob, but it's like Batman 121, and these are big books where it's like, man, I'm gonna spend a pretty penny on some of these big books, or like even like Ben found that Sandman 75 second print. That's a good book to find. It's like just things in general. Like I have different tastes, I guess. I mean, coming from a guy who really doesn't have a collection, like a PC, I guess, I have a few books here and there, but I mean, for me, I'm so diverse. I don't really have like, I'm like, like Scott Reagan's a very, he collects 194s, Amazing Spider-Man 194s and 300s all day. But I'm not that type of person, I guess. It's weird. I don't know.
I know what you're saying, Dino. I mean, I'm kind of the same way. It's like if you are going to find something, you want that weird thing that nobody else, if you can find, especially you can find in the wild. I mean, that's such a cool feeling to go and dig through a bin and like, nobody, zero on eBay and nobody even knows what this book is. I mean, that's like a really cool thing to search for.
I mean, I think I've been spoiled too. I mean, my first pick ever was a Craigslist ad. And it's not even a Craigslist ad. It was a guy at my work who knew somebody whose uncle had a comic book collection. He had like 12 long boxes. So, and he's like, yeah, I don't know what they're worth, kind of thing, and I wasn't gonna like really screw him over. I'm never that type of guy. So I would talk to him and say, I'll look over, and if you see something cool, he had some turtle books that he wanted to keep, and he had a couple other things he wanted to keep. My first pick, I pulled out a Tech 359, like. And I mean, that was like me getting back into comics, like Tech 359, and I just pulled it out, and it's like that probably was it was pretty beat. It's probably like a 3 or a 4, but I mean, I think I've been spoiled when it comes to comics. It's like I don't read full runs usually, or I don't collect full runs. I just collect keys and I move them or I push them, and stuff like that. So I hate to sound like the elitist, I guess, or come off of that because I'm not, I guess.
And you can say it, but that doesn't make it true.
No, that's true. That's true.
What do you guys think of Watchmen? We all finished that. I finally finished it today, nick of time.
Nice parlay there, Paul.
Yeah.
Segu. That was a Segu. God dang, we all read it. We better talk about it.
Yeah, I know.
I have a movie versus comic underneath.
I tell you what, I didn't read it when it first came out. I was obviously pretty dang young when it did, but I read it in college, I think, because I kind of got a little bit into comics. I think that's when the movie came out again. I don't know what year that was. 2000?
The movie? Yeah. I want to say it was
no, it was later than that. It was like
04, 05, I think.
No, that was like the Watchmen? You talking about the
what was the Watchmen?
It was like 09?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2009. Late? Yep.
It was 2009. Good move. Nice.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I read it in college for some reason. Maybe I heard the movie was coming out. I don't know. Something. I read it in like 01, 02. And I don't even think I caught all of it then. And it resonates differently now, 20 years later. Of course, I think the political environment actually makes it resonate a little more.
Correct.
I try to stay on politics, but that's a pretty political book.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I read it before 09 when the movie came out, so I was like, I'll read the my buddy who was my cube mate, he was like sitting there and he was like, Watchmen's coming out, you should read this. I'm like, okay, cool. So he gave me he had actually the trade paperback, so he gave it to me, or all of them, I guess. And I read it then, and like you said, it resonates different the second time I read it from when I read it there. I just kind of looked at it, it was like, one of those things when you read a comic book or you read a book and then you go watch a movie, it's like, I can compare the film to the movie now. But it resonates different nowadays.
I think my college roommate handed it to me. That might be what it was. But man, it does feel different, even not that long ago.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice? I never saw it the first time I read it, but when I read it the second time, that they actually reference Superman in Watchmen. Like
when they call Dr. Manhattan Superman?
No. That like the little newspaper guy when he's talking to
The kid.
the kid.
Mel?
He actually references Superman and the Flash Man,
Huh.
Yes.
which I always assumed that it was completely outside of any DC,
Well,
whatever.
I don't think it was outside. I mean, that whole thing was, they wanted to use the Charlton character, so they kind of modeled them after it, and man, I can't even remember the names, but they bought the Charlton characters because of the writer they got, and the publisher kind of gave it to them as a gift, but then they decided not to use them. And it was an interesting, that whole thing was interesting because it could have just easily been, instead of the Night Owl, it could have been Blue Beetle.
Correct. And I guess
Give me 1 second to parlay because I was watching something the other day. I know Ben S. watches Teen Titans Go. I was watching an episode the other day, and most definitely there was a Night Owl cameo in a scene.
Was there?
Was it really?
It's when Cyborg wants to be a real boy and they do the Real Boy song, they show Batman and somebody next to him that you're like, is that a pharaoh? No, it's freaking Night Owl.
they do that a lot in Go though. They do a lot of callbacks. Like I think
it was like it's the Watchmen though.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess according to Wikipedia page, just to back up your story, as Alan Moore, right, the writer of Watchmen, proposed story would have left many of the characters unusable for future stories, which means that Charlton's comics managing editor Dick Giordano convinced Moore to create original characters instead. So
yeah.
And,
good old Negan was in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Z, that Toledo comic thing you sent me to. Funny enough, the comics that lady sold me had the Watchmen trade in it.
Is that soft cover or hardcover?
It's soft. It's like the 15th printing or something. But I had a couple notes in here. I was flipping through it before the show. What was the dynamic between Hooded Justice when the original?
I tell you what, that one I've even after 2 readings seemed a bit fuzzy.
When she gets assaulted, he said, "Get up!" Like he defends her. Hooded Justice defends her, but then he says in the comic, he just says, "Get up and for God's sake, cover yourself," and then walks away. Like I didn't and then in the movie it was different. I didn't understand the dynamic, the relationship between those two characters, where he's like,
I'm not even going to try and pretend to understand because that's one that still throws me a bit.
And then
I would tell you what, read page 1 of book 1, Rorschach talking about society, and that one a little bit resonates more now because it's Reagan era, looking back at a few years prior, and his first statements in his diary they reflect the environment we're in now, minus that it's a little more happy, friendly versus hard and rough, but the same idea. It's just very tense.
No, that's correct. I think I don't know. I guess as I read it, I guess I see Hooded Justice is I just see him as more of a black and white kind of person. Like, hey, I defended you. You're not the emotional level, just the actual physical. Hey, I protect you now. Get up and just get on with our lives, kind of thing. But I don't know if that's what Alan Moore actually was thinking about when he wrote that. I guess, maybe.
I was wondering if there was sexual undertones, like homophobia type things or something.
We definitely get some TA and D in the movie.
Yeah. I don't know. That book is, I don't want to say timeless, but man, it does stand up very well. Because that was the whole point of this endeavor was, do these things that we read as, 10, 20, 15 years ago, do they stand up? And that book, there's a few things that are weird, but man, it is still pretty poignant today.
The one character, Moloch, or however it's pronounced.
Moloch.
What is it? Moloch, sorry. What's up with his ears? In the movie, they really emphasized it.
I think they were just making him a cartoony villain.
Just some
Yeah.
cartoony.
Just
And then-
stylized Hollywood style.
And then the one thing I noticed when reading the comic was the cigarettes in the comic were just really weird. They had the big ball on the end. That just caught me as odd. I don't know. Just small, minute shit.
Well, I mean, I wrote an article for the site maybe a year ago when Watchmen were coming to the rebirth, and I had one opinion. And now, after reading again, maybe I have a different. I thought maybe leave them alone. Let's not talk about them again. But maybe we should. Maybe it'd be interesting to see they're kind of black and white in this world we live in.
Well, when I was rereading, I was kind of like looking at it through the new DC Rebirth lens. Like, instead of trying to pick out the undertones, I was trying to pick out like, well, what can play into Rebirth? Like, what are they gonna? Because obviously they're gonna pull in portions of, you know, the original story. Like, I think the whole I can't even say. Ozymandias. What is his name?
Ozymandias.
Ozymandias. His whole plan at the end, you know, basically to unify a world. I mean, it's a pretty interesting idea, and I wonder if it will come into play. You know, because Rebirth is kind of scattered. All the characters are kind of scattered.
Correct. You know, like in like Ozzy, and like even Ozzy was sitting there, like, you know, he would kill millions to save billions. You know, it's very interesting that thought process, I guess. You know, that only a million casualties is warranted enough to save billions. You know,
Right.
So,
Are you guys all pretty excited about? I'm like really excited to see how they use them going forward.
I just want them to do something because they've been talking about it. I just want to see it happen. I want to.
They gotta milk it, man.
do you think they're gonna do like Justice League versus Suicide Squad? Do you think they're gonna do like Justice League versus a Watchmen, maybe?
Oh God,
Probably.
please don't. If you make it so fucking mundane as that, I'm gonna throw up.
In the comic,
I mean, let's be creative with these characters.
Yeah, they're very complex characters. I think you could do a ton of different things that are not campy.
I didn't. I'm glad they didn't use the comedian's gimp mask in the movie versus the comic.
Right.
But I'd like to. I'd watch a movie about if they made Tales of the Black Freighter into something. The comic book that the kid was reading within Watchmen. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, but man, that's so hard to follow. But it is poignant. I mean, there's so many stories on between the Black Freighter backstory and then you've got.
At the end of each comic,
has kind of a backstory between the psychiatrist or, you know, one of the old crime fighters. I don't remember what the original group was called. I'm sorry. And then, and then you've also got at the end of every book the whether it be an excerpt from Holland's book or the excerpt. I mean, every one has about four like side stories going. It's an intense read.
One thing I didn't like is that when Rorschach killed the guy who murdered that little girl, I wish they would have stuck with the original storyline in the comic where he burned the house down versus just axing him in the head with a meat cleaver.
Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler if you haven't read it. But
damn it, Paul.
Yeah.
Well, I did just mention the ending, so
I like
if you haven't seen Watchmen or read it by now, I'm sorry.
We warned you last week.
I was gonna do it yesterday or tomorrow. You ruined it for me.
It had like a very Saw movie feel to it. I just think I would have liked I think it would have gone over better on cinema if they took it right out of the comic.
Well, I think honestly, Watchmen's one of those books you could read 10 times and take different things out the book.
I mean, I don't think the movie was terrible by any stretch of imagination, too. I mean, we all know how bad comic movies can be when you start going from the pages to the actual big screen, you know.
Well, I wonder how they're going to handle them in the DC universe, because you look at them, they're kind of like sad versions of modern day, like of like Batman, like the owl or whatever his name is.
Yeah,
but
it's
he's
Yeah,
an
the owl.
impotent Batman, though.
Yeah, he's like a very sad version of Batman, you know, and same with like I mean, the comedian and they're all just like has
the comedian and
been.
Rorschach kind of stand out as interesting, unique characters because they're just so
Rorschach's
hyper
pretty
violent.
Right.
What I mean, according to like the comedian, like I guess according to Wiki, was saying that like the comedian is based on a character from Charlton Comics from
He's the Peacemaker.
but he has elements of Marvel's comic spy character Nick Fury in there too.
I would call him more of a Punisher.
Correct. Maybe,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, the Peacemaker to the comedian is the largest stretch of any of the steals
Mhm.
because the Peacemaker only had a few issues of his comic. He appeared in a war comic. He was just a patriotic hero, so that one's the most spun off of them into different things. But when I read him, he's a patriotic Punisher.
Yeah.
You know, the Night Owl is a sad Batman. Rorschach is just a crazy motherfucker. He's the Question, who, you know, is a Ditko creation who actually made another version of his character because he didn't like it because it was too mainstream. He made Mr. A, which is a magazine you'll see once in a great while. It's crazy as heck too. But Rorschach is just, you know, he's nuts. He might actually be closer to, you know, if Batman and Joker had a kid.
Yeah,
Correct.
Batman that kills.
So
And the girls are they're just girls. They don't really steal from anybody, but they do.
you think any of those books will go up? You know, when they redid, you know, remember when they redid the Watchmen line, and all those
The
books got
before
really
Watchmen?
hot, like the Jim Lee variant for Dr. Manhattan, and
I think the Hughes ones will get some heat just because they're Hughes, but I don't know.
Think
I don't
about
like
it.
to speculate on that stuff. It's just like, the
I
first
mean, they
time we
went
thought
super
about it.
hot. Yeah, when they came out, they were, you know, really expensive.
I think there's some cool covers. There's some cool art, and somebody posted on Facebook today, and I didn't pay enough attention to see who it was, but in the original version, Paul was talking about this, that he thought he saw something about interdimensional travel, and I only remember talking about
found it.
teleportation.
I
But
found
somebody had one that was a Hughes art. It was definitely Hughes art that said something about, you know, how do you travel transdimensionally, which probably is going to parlay into this. But are we really going to spec on that?
Yeah, right.
It is in issue 8 when they're talking in the basement. He said he was just talking about the research company called Dimensional Developments and how they were owned by the pyramid and something to do with giving people cancer, blah, blah, blah. I thought I read something different or something more into it. I was just going to make a joke about they opened the dimension for that creature from Stranger Things.
No, I mean that's and to back your point up, I mean that's what happens in the movie. I mean that's how Dr. Manhattan becomes Dr. Manhattan technically. I mean, you know, he goes in the chamber, gets locked in there, and then actually, I guess what you call it, disintegrates. I'm not Neil deGrasse Tyson here, but you know, disintegrates and then comes back as, you know, an interdimensional being, I guess you would call him. You know,
Yeah, I was watching the movie shortly after finishing the comic, and I was like, and I was waiting for that big alien to come on screen. I'm like, are they really going to mirror the comic that closely or not? So I wonder which version they'll use for using Watchmen and Rebirth.
Well, I will say that Manhattan and Captain Atom are the most interesting kind of tied together characters of the Charlton DC Watchmen universe, though. Because, I mean, Captain Atom was just a character with the power of the atom, very close to Dr. Solar and Valiant, you know, that they just were atomic characters. And, you know, the 50s, there was probably a dozen characters like that. But then the Watchmen came out and they made him blue and they had some of the origins. And then when DC rebooted him, they made him look like Captain Manhattan. And then, and I mentioned on the Press of Apex a while ago, there's a Captain Atom series out now, which is very bizarre that they would choose now to do it because that character is so dead. You know, He barely appears in Justice League Unlimited. A segue back to Matt's talk earlier.
Yeah, I think he had like a couple episodes. I remember watching Justice League Unlimited. Yeah, I think he only has a couple episodes where he's actually the main focal point of the actual.
He's just like a, you know, not even a tertiary character.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting because I mean, obviously, the main people. I mean, even like Rorschach and the comedian. I mean, who are would you say probably the two favorite characters of all the Watchmen? Maybe. I mean, from a standpoint of mental and physical sides, it's like probably Rorschach and comedian. It's probably would you say is the two favorite Watchmen characters that everybody has? Maybe.
Sure.
Yes, because reading it again, you just want Dr. Manhattan to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's like that was. I mean, if they took the whole Dr. Manhattan on Mars thing out of the book and kept him in the rest of it, I mean, he would just be a minor character who is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I understand, the whole loneliness thing and stuff like that. Being a super being like Superman, right? I mean, it's hard to be Superman when nobody else understands what being Superman is, right? I mean, but still, it's like, yeah, it'll be interesting how they interact Rorschach in the comedian in actual modern day comics nowadays. I mean, like you said, Rorschach could be a crazy, Batman Joker kind of, maybe he gets inserted into that storyline. Maybe I don't know.
Oh, he's a borderline Joker. I mean, he's a good guy, but man, he has. He would be a full string right winger in today's politics.
I mean, would you? I don't even know. Like, does the comedian, is the comedian in the Flash go at it, or something of that nature? I don't know. It's like you said, it could be.
Doesn't even have any superpowers. He's just a guy.
Yeah, it's like is the Punisher a comedian? It's going to be interesting, like you said, which way they go with it. And I hope it does really good. I hope it doesn't fall flat on its face.
I hope they have a story. Let's just not ruin these characters with JLA versus Suicide Squad.
Yeah. I mean,
and then there'll be a game.
And I'll give DC the benefit of the doubt because not everything they put out is good, but at least they hit a few. I mean, what the New 52, if you're reading the New 52 out of 52 titles every month, I'd give them 2 to 4 great ones and a couple of good ones. Whereas Marvel, I don't know.
At least they're not turning all their main characters into women, so.
True. But they were smart enough to kind of give their heroes women counterparts early on. I mean, you had Batgirl and as early back as, Batwoman and Batgirl and Supergirl, and maybe they were just smarter in doing it earlier. I mean, the Green Lanterns, they made multiple Green Lanterns early on.
Right.
Maybe they were just so far ahead of their time. Marvel is just now catching up.
I mean, that could be it. I mean, if I'm a competing company, you got to think about this, right? If you're a competing company, you're going to do things that are different from your competition, right? I mean, diversity in comics and stuff like that. I mean, that's huge. I mean, and maybe and to be honest, it could have been the biggest gamble that they could have taken, and it could have fell flat on its face, if they didn't make any kind of diversity in comics,
That's true.
What else about Watchmen, though? I feel like the original comic wise. Anything?
What was the question?
What about the original comic? What else stood out to you guys? I want to talk about the.
I would just say it was just so complex. You don't see that anymore. I mean, a lot of the comics are so dumbed down. Even Saga is,
Yeah, I agree. The story is heavier, and it's. Yeah,
I can read a trade of Saga in an hour.
So
I struggle to get through one issue of Watchmen in an hour. There's just so many layers upon layers upon layers.
In a good way, though.
Yeah, but it is probably one of the most complex pieces. On my list is to read Sandman, which I've heard is also fantastic, but I have a hard time thinking anything is more thought out than The Watchmen.
Now, do you think it's because of comic deadlines nowadays? Like how many actual writers sit out there and we talked about this. How many writers do sit out there and write out a whole story from A to Z, and then send it out to Marvel to get published, and they just throw covers on it and art. I don't think that many.
Nobody.
Well, I think for the big guys like DC and Marvel, you as a writer, you have to meet their agenda. Like they have an agenda, they have connected stories that they want you to head towards. They have characters that they want you to weave in. They have characters that they want you to eventually include. Where the Image people, it seems like a lot of them are writing to make a movie. You know, like it seems like everything's kind of geared. It kind of feels like a movie. But yeah, no one's really writing anything super heavy. Not even the independent stuff. The independent stuff seems just.
It's just comic books are shallow in general now. Do you think?
I kind of get that sense. You know,
Yeah,
which is why I
mean,
people cling to like covers. You know, because the covers it's kind of lean towards art rather than story, where it used to be story over art.
Do you think it's because of a risk nowadays? You know, say you write something heavy, you know, and we'll say, you know, and Matt, you probably know about this more than anybody. Say, you know, they come up with a new storyline, even call it the Watchmen 2 or something, and say, we'll give you guys 10 trial, you know, issues to start out with. And I guess, you know, everybody's about making money nowadays. If you try to write something heavy and it just falls, you know, that's kind of hard for a writer, especially, you know, I guess I equate it to like Campbell, right? Doing the same stuff over and over because he knows if he deviates, it could be, you know, everybody's 15 seconds of fame is only, you know, or 15 minutes of fame is just a window, you know, and people are trying to hold on to that window forever, you know.
And these guys don't make much money at all. So, I mean, kind of like the goal. I think a lot of the goal, and from a lot of the writers that I know, the goal is to get made into a movie or a TV show. Mm-hmm. If they're writing their own stuff, that's where they're headed because that's where they can make money.
It's like, would you say like almost like Kirkman maybe or somebody of that nature?
Yeah,
like
I was just gonna say, I read maybe it was in letters at the end of Walking Dead or wherever, but they wrote Walking Dead #1 as like a, you know, we're never gonna get to issue 2 or 10. So they wrote like they tried to tell a story start to 100% end in the first issue just in case they never got picked up, just to get some stuff out there.
Well, I was going to equate to that to Kirkman as well. Like he's probably one of the most successful writers the comic book genre has ever seen. I would say probably financially and, you know, other things, but it's like now he can write about whatever he wants to write because it's established, you know.
And you think about him, he got lucky because he was writing like Battle Pope. And like his Marvel stuff was like Jubilee and Ultimate X. Like he was doing a lot of like, you know, stuff that the big guys wanted him to put out. And he kind of literally just did a zombie book that he wanted to write, and it just had an audience. Like if that didn't take off, he would be where every other writer is now. You know, he just has that Walking Dead caveat, you know, that he can.
I think a lot of it, though, I mean, I think it kind of depends on the character, too. I don't think you can get too – I mean, because, like, you know, Scott Snyder, that New 52 stuff, that was pretty heavy. I mean, if you, like, go back and really think about it, I mean, he took a bunch of risks on a lot of that stuff. And but I don't think he could have probably done that with any other character than Batman just because, you know, he knew he had that fallback of, hey, it's Batman. People are going to read it no matter what. But I don't think he could have done that with, you know, Green Lantern or something like that. I don't think you could have taken as many risks as going as deep into the storyline.
Well, I guess to expand on that, you know, like you said, Batman had an established fan base, you know. So, you know, one risky series isn't that, I guess, business-wise, isn't that risky for, you know, DC and then, you know, Batman's their bread and butter, you know. And same thing with Superman, you know. If Snyder wrote a Superman-esque, you know, thing with Luthor like that, you know, it would have sold. I mean, so.
In New 52, they were kind of told, oh, be edgier. So I think they were able to play around a little bit more than most of those writers. Like Marvel, I can't imagine that any Marvel writer has the ability to kind of play with characters the way that DC did during the whole Rebirth.
No, you give them credit for at least letting them have some free range.
Yeah, Because even it seemed like a lot of those stories were standalone. Like there was a disconnect between detective and Batman. Like the same stuff wasn't always happening. So I think they were just allowed to do whatever they wanted to do, to a degree. But
Chloe.
Don't get me started. She's been quiet for 2 hours. Though shout out to Mel V, because I just realized Chloe and Lois Lane here are the same breed of dog. They're kindred spirits.
What kind of dog is it?
A golden doodle.
Oh, that's what my dog is too.
But she's the 106 version. She's all black.
106. What? Like the numbers on Pops?
No, the Lois Lane 106.
Yes.
Oh yeah, sorry.
But it kind of makes you miss the old DC Elseworlds titles, because they could do what they wanted then.
What's the history of the Watchmen when it was a single issue series? I don't know the answer. How established was Alan Moore at that time, and did they give him, hey, did he come to them with all 12 issues already written, or did he? What's the history?
Like a writer, was one of the big writers back in the 80s. Like he was on DC's payroll. Like he did Swamp Thing and blanking on all his other stuff. But he was a pretty successful writer, and I think they just let him have that miniseries.
Was V before V for Vendetta? Was that before Watchmen or after Watchmen?
I think V was after, and I actually liked V
From
better
Hell.
than
He did, yeah. From Hell, Miracle Man, and Swamp Thing.
I forget.
Well, he just had an epic run there in the late 80s.
And then he just appeared. So yeah, V for Vendetta
Because he
was
realized the comic
1988.
industry uses you up.
Yeah.
I mean, just if McFarlane didn't have Image, he would have just been, I'm out.
Sure.
A lot of the greats. Look at freaking Ditko.
Yeah, I mean, I guess talking about Alan Moore, so it goes from Hell to the League of Extraordinary. Oh, this is the feature film adaptations, I guess. So yeah, so he did League and they did V for Vendetta and then Watchmen and Killing Joke, but it didn't tell me like a release.
Yeah. League is one of my favorite old-time books.
Okay, here's a bibliography, I guess. So it went V for Vendetta, Miracle Man, I guess you would call it, Swamp Thing, The Watchmen. Then he went from Batman, The Killing Joke, From Hell, A Small Killing, Lost Girls, Top 10, Promethea, Tom Strong, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Courtyard, and then some other books like Fashion Beast and Providence and stuff like that.
You say
Did you guys ever read Top 10? Top 10 is awesome.
No, what's that about?
I can't even remember it, but it's like like these two cops. Basically, it's like a world where a lot of people have superpowers, and it's focusing on it's like Powers, but kind of before Powers was Powers. It's a good read. If you guys ever pick it up, it's good.
I will say the original Miracle Man is high on my list to read. I just can't seem to get a full run, and the original trades are crazy. Even the Marvel trades are a little crazy, other than book 1. Book 2 and book 3 in the Marvel are expensive.
I saw a post today. Somebody was looking for a Marvel Man or a Miracle Man. Was it the 3D 2D? You might know about that book.
I know it exists. I didn't think that's a rare. 15 seems to be the king.
I bought some of those 3D ones thinking, oh well, maybe this is worth something, but now it's worth like $3.
The other one is the number 1 signed by Gaiman at some version. You see him pop up on MCS once in a while. They're crazy.
Z, what were our powers you were talking about?
I think we'll save that for when everybody's on the air.
Yeah, you're right. We're missing a couple guys tonight.
We can't do the full Captain Planet without everybody.
That's true. I was laughing. When we were talking about Watchmen, as far as Paul's problems, that I'd be that kid Seymour who gets Rorschach's journal and is just like, wow, this is nothing. We'll throw it aside. And then later the head writer would find it and be like, holy shit, where did this come from? Like, oh, I just threw it in a pile somewhere. And then I'd also probably be Dr. Manhattan forgetting that his girlfriend needs oxygen when he transports her to Mars. Oh shit, sorry, babe.
Yeah, but your wife would tell you.
Right, yeah. And she's gassed me for air. Whoops.
I feel like we failed. We did a poll and asked what people wanted to hear about, and we didn't even talk about it.
We got Paul's problems, my story for this week, and then Funko Pops and a couple other topics. Think we have time?
Don't mind.
Sure. I mean, how about this? How about we do we'll do Paul's problems, and then we'll do Funko Pops, and that's it.
Sure.
And then I guess we'll spoil some of it. We can leave the Z topic and Legion. I guess we'll leave that for next week because Legion could be a whole 30-minute conversation according to what happens next week. So,
What night is that on?
ooh. So
Was that Friday or Thursday?
It was Wednesday, wasn't it?
I thought it was Wednesday, but that's what I was gonna say. I can look right now. So it's a Wednesday. Wednesday on FX.
Going up against Unpressables. Bold.
It is bold. FX better start talking to UD guys.
Right. Yeah, so we'll do Paul's problems for this week. God, man. Does anyone remember back in the day, eBay had this stupid ass thing called Dutch auctions?
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember those.
Worst idea ever if you didn't know what you were doing. And you'd have to specify what it was. I'll tell you what it is in my story. So here I am, I don't know how old I was, 16 or whatever, and however old I was. And I'm bidding on eBay and watching it till the last second deal. I was like, all right, money is easy to be made when you're thinking of how you're going to make it in your head. So I'm bidding on this lot. Like, all right, I can mow the lawn, and maybe I can mow the neighbor's lawn, and go out to grandma's, and she usually gives me like $10 or something just to hang out, whatever. So I had the money in my head, and so I won this auction. And then I get the invoice, and it's for like $4,500. What? I'm like, I'm 16. I don't have 400, or I don't have $4,000. What the fuck? It's because it was this lot of Pokemon cards, of course, right? Old Pokemon cards again. And I was thinking, man, if I win this, I'm gonna be rich because Pokemon's crazy right now. I can resell some of these, blah blah blah. And then I get this invoice. I'm like, what the hell? I did not win it for $4,000. It's this stupid thing that eBay used to do called Dutch auctions, where you pay the winning bidding price per item in a lot. So that was the math. Added up to like $4,500. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like they know where I live, and they're going to cut. Like my life is over. What? So I emailed the guy, and I wish I had it. My dad gave it to me a few years ago, the email printed out. But I wrote the guy, and I'm like, dude, I'm just a kid. Like literally I said, I'm just a kid. I can't pay this. This is wild. So he ended up reporting me to eBay, and eBay banned me until I turned 18 because I made an account under their guidelines. You had to be 18. I got banned for like 2.5 years or something. And I didn't have to pay it, but I was just like, holy shit. It's crazy Paul problem trying to bid on eBay.
So the synopsis of the story is, did you make a second eBay account?
No, I was too much of a goody two shoes back then. I didn't even think about that.
Paul's eBay account has more feedback than most of us because it's been active for like 15 years.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is that guy expected you to pay.
Oh, I'm sure he went out and had a glory dance when that auction ended.
But some other dumb shit bid just slightly under per card. That's the thing is,
right?
If you bid 11 cents, somebody bid 10.
It was so crazy.
There was at least a handful of dumb shits that didn't understand it besides you.
And my eBay says member since June 1st of 2001.
Wow.
I bet you when Paul signs up the websites, he actually puts his real birth date.
yeah, back then I did. But, that's my Paul's problem for the week. $4,000 worth of Pokemon cards.
Hey, just the fact that you got banned from eBay is pretty funny.
Yeah,
I don't even think Jimmy's done that yet, so you got one up on Jimmy.
I didn't even trick somebody into thinking I bought the whole website.
Sometimes things like that make you feel old, man. My first email was when I got to college, and it was Jonathan4@Purdue.edu, and I'm like, when that came out, there was only 4 Jonathans at Purdue. Let that shit sink in.
Did you get to keep your EDU after you left school?
I had it for a while. I wish I still had it, but no.
Yeah, because I think at Michigan, I didn't go to Michigan State, but a lot of Spartans out there, they get to keep their Michigan State EDU email address forever.
What?
So, yeah, it's great.
A lot of discounts with the.
I had it for a while, and probably more that I just forgot about it than anything.
Yeah, my university, lovely Oakland University. Shout out Golden Grizzlies. They once you got your diploma or left, I think after like a year it was done. So
that's one of those things that just makes me feel old. They didn't even use last names at that point.
ours was pretty good. It was first and our letter of your first name and your last name. I don't know if you had like same like Mike Smith. I don't know if it was Mike Smith 02 or something, but so.
No, but if it was my last name, I'd feel okay. It was just first name, just Jonathan 4.
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm like, seriously, you just went through first names. How many Steves were there? 822?
Oh, that would be awful. And could you imagine, like back in the day, you're like trying to draft an email, like say at a group project with somebody, like, yeah, I'm Steve 822. Like, make sure you don't email 821, or you're gonna have a bad time.
You guys are cracking me up because we didn't even have email when I was in college.
Ben, how much older are you than me, though? You're like 2 years. I guess that's fair. 2 years makes all difference.
Yeah,
write each other letters.
No joke, guys. I remember my aunt had an old brother typewriter, and it was one of the fancier ones. It wasn't like a mechanical typewriter. It was one that had a digital display, so you could read out what you typed and then hit enter, and then it would like shoot across the page, So at least it wasn't that bad. So. I mean, I think for most of us, our college years were a lot of illegally downloading songs from Napster. So.
LimeWire and Napster.
LimeWire.
Yeah, I'll have to look at our poll. I'm looking at it now. Funko Pop's won out, followed by Star Wars toys, kind of tied with some other ones, Legos and whatnot. So we'll have to keep an eye on that for our future outlines. But we looked up some stuff for Funko Pops, and it's kind of hit or miss as far as, so they have I guess the Bible is poppriceguide.com. So if you can go there and type it in, and they're linked with eBay, so you can see what the current going rate is for a certain pop. But they also have on their website what's called the Vault. So that's kind of like their retired pops that they're not making anymore. But I can't definitively find out when it's updated. Mel wrote an article back in 2015, and I chatted with him a little bit about all this, and we can't figure out if the vaulted list is updated monthly, and it appears that there's really no particular order on that website that the pops are listed in.
Is that directly from Funko?
Yeah, it's on the Funko website. So there is.
I think it's pulled from eBay somewhere. I read though, because there was something I saw on Facebook not the vault list, the price guide.
The pop price guide is on their website, but it's collaborated with eBay statistics.
Yeah, so they pulled sales data.
What was that, the one that wasn't updated though? Or
yeah, it went down for a month or two, but I think it's back up from what I can tell.
But let me pull it up. Gosh darn it! Keep clicking on the wrong link. So anywho, the vault thing, they aren't it's not sorted. There's 39 pages right now, but there's no way to search for like Red Skull or whatever. I mean, there's some. I'll have to post the link, I think, but there's some divisions on the side as far as Disney and Heroes and Marvel and things. But it's I don't know if anyone knows a better way to navigate it. Let us know. But so we can't really tell when something's going to be vaulted or why it's vaulted. I guess they do it at different times as far as just whenever they feel like it, pretty much.
So let's explain to listeners what vaulted means, I guess.
Yeah, vaulted is like out of print, so they're not gonna manufacture anymore unless they do like a second run. So the difference would be the main difference would be a blue label would be considered first print, and then black would be a reprint.
Okay.
But other what am I trying to say? Other ways that to differentiate is like some of the exclusives. So I have a list. So there's different ways that they're exclusive. They're exclusive to cons, which aren't really vaulted per se. They're just more already really hard to find and limited. And then some other pops are limited to 5,000 run or whatnot. And then it seems like every store can have exclusives. So I have Walgreens, Walmart, Hot Topic, EB Games, which GameStop bought up, I think, or they went out of business, or both. And then something called Galactic Toys, Target, subscription boxes, which are bigger nowadays. Something called Gemini, Toys R Us. So there's just tons of different places to find them. But the bigger thing is, if you're in it for the money, is finding out, like, you know, when is it going to be vaulted? If it's going to be vaulted, or they're going to just print so many that when it does go out of print, is it going to matter?
Well, let's not forget that they have their own variant with the chases.
What do you mean chases?
What is
the fur?
No, the chases. It's like they have a variation of the Funko. So
the chase. Yeah, I asked Mel. So those are like sent out randomly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. You don't know. So if you get a box or whatever, it doesn't say.
And I just want to confirm too that EB Games is still in business because it's part of Canada, but they did merge on 2005. Actually, on my birthday in 2005, they merged GameStop and EB Games, but they are still the largest video game retailer in Canada.
From what I can tell, Funko collecting is more cutthroat than comics. I mean, I've just kind of been watching some Facebook groups and sites about stuff, and there is a lot of venom in the collecting of Funko Pops.
Well, I'm a little confused by it though, because I mean, you walk into like any comic shop or anything. I mean, they got a wall. I mean, there's a million of them, but I don't think I've ever seen a person actually buy any of them. I
go to Hot Topic. Yeah, I go to Hot Topic. I see people buying them at Hot Topic, but it's not like not
underwear only.
Yeah, and it's not like Hot Topic was like, it's like people who are sit there and saying like, oh, I like this person. It's not like, there's a difference between collecting them and actually, like, I guess making money on them. You know, it's like, from what I've heard from Mel too, it's like, you know, you go to like San Diego Comic-Con and the longest line is the Funko line. Like, who cares if Stan Lee's over in the corner signing autographs? Nobody cares about that. They care about the Funko line. You know,
which I did see that Game of Thrones, the Ned Stark decapitated Funko from SDCC, that was pretty sweet. I might, but it's like $500. I'm not spending that, but it is pretty cool.
Well, I know they've been trying to sell themselves really hard lately. They're trying to get like one of the big companies to buy them.
Oh, you mean like a buyout, a company buyout?
Yeah, you know, the question we have. So, what do you guys think this is? This started in 2010, right? That was when the first line came out in San Diego Comic-Con. It started with Funko Force 2.0. So, if you guys look up Funko Force 2.0 on eBay, you're gonna see they go for thousands. If you find one in a box. But, like, what do you think the longevity of these are? I know that people do pretty well with them. But
I would be scared shitless just because it's just characters in a medium. I mean, you say, you know, beanie versions or characters with small heads, or I don't know.
I was gonna say Beanie Babies is probably the correlative of it, I guess. You know, it's like, but
what's that? The Sum Sums, the new thing that's out there, the Sum Sums, the kind of big version of it. Who's to say that doesn't take over?
Well, I kind of like, you know, that stuff is already, you know, every toy company is trying to get in that small collectible now, especially blind packs. Like you can go to the toy aisle and find Zoom Zooms and Minecraft. And
Hot Topics. Don't even talk. I have kids, and I just spent $20 on Minecraft blind boxes.
I mean, blind boxes. Everyone's moving to blind boxes because they can move product really easily. Because one of the big complaints coming from a toy company, your toy line is controlled by the biggest stores, so Target, Walmart, Toys R Us. If they don't take your toy line, like for example, if a new Masters of the Universe came out, they only want He-Man, Skeletor, and maybe 2 other characters, and they don't want the rest. So you're kind of like you've designed a 12 character line, and they only want like 4. So you're kind of like stuck holding the bag because you know you have to do what Walmart says because they're one of the biggest companies in the country, in the world. So like doing these blind packs is brilliant because you can stuff all your, you know, you can design a full line, put them in blind packs, and have the store take them all. So every company's moving toward these, which is really interesting. But we're diverting from Funko.
But you could do ratios of.
First.
Yeah, you could do ratios of blind boxes though. Sure. Technically, I mean, you could make a 12 character lineup, and one of the 12 characters is a 1 in 500, you know, produce run. You know, I'm just saying.
Right.
But I mean, Matt, who did this first? I mean, I know there's Lego minifigure lines and all these other things that have been doing
Funkos. With the minis.
With the blinds.
Everyone just copied, you know, because it worked. You know, it took off after Shopkins.
Oh, don't even. If you have boys, don't talk to me about grocery freaking gangs.
Because there's a boy version of Shopkins?
Yeah, my son dressed up I had to make a costume of Grocery Gang, which 300 kids, only one kid even knew what he was last year. But now everybody does. Blind boxes are terrible.
I was going to say, you know, for the version of bags and boards for Pops, they're called Pop Protectors.
Sure.
What else? As far as value, loose is less valued than a boxed one. And then I said those furry ones, I guess it's more like a velvet or something, but they have some con exclusives.
Flocked.
Yeah, it's called Flocked. So I don't know. In my opinion, my short term experience with Pops is you can make money if you find like someone who's selling them on Craigslist, like I did, or Funko sends out these emails that's like the product of the week or whatever.
You're the Wednesday warrior of Funkos to make money.
This was just like weeks ago that it just started. So I don't think.
But I mean, so from what I've been reading, there's guys that just hit all the GameStops and like just know the schedule of when things get released, or they have friends there, or they know the manager.
Right.
You know, if you can track down the chases quick and turn $8 into $35.
Yeah. Would you?
The thing is, you don't get the variance of comics where it goes from $3 to $128. It's a lot of $8 to $30, $8 to $50.
Would you correlate it with would it be the everyday person's action figure? And I guess just hop on a train with me on this one. So an action figure, like a real deal action figure, is what, a couple $100, probably $300-400. Probably.
You mean like a statue?
Like a statue. I'm talking like straight statue, right? So
like
it's
a
like
Mondo or
a Mondo or something. Yeah. So would you say you would correlate this to a cheaper man's action figure, Mondo action figure, or statue? I guess maybe that's what people are hanging their hat on, kind of.
I think people are drawn to the fact that all the boxes are the same size. Like everything can stack onto each other really nicely. Like, you know, when I've seen people's collections that I know, that's how they have it. They just have them in the boxes. They have them stacked up on top of each other. I think I think just their size and their cost is like you said is perfect. And they're kind of cute and they're fun. You know, like there's a whole line of different collectors that could get into it.
Yeah, they make. I mean, there's a lot of cool ones. There's like 11 from Stranger Things. I saw one the other day that's like her with her water helmet on, or
No,
whatever they
and
want to
it's
call
it's
it.
got the Lego theory of just let's just cross license.
Right.
Right.
I don't know if Mel. I mean, even Mel on Pressables is saying like, just don't even. It's done. That he thinks the. I mean, it's a very hard hobby to get into if you're starting fresh.
I looked into one. I wanted one character, and I looked at him like, oh, he was in the original series. Fuck that! I ain't gonna pay for it.
But I mentioned it real quick. But the Funko sends out an email that they say like the item of the week, or I can't, whatever they call it. But those are usually limited to like 5,000 or whatever, and then they limit it like one per customer. So it's kind of like a comic book in the sense, or the variant comic book where it, Wednesday Warrior thing where except it's limited one per customer. So you buy it, and then you go on eBay, and everybody's already listing it at 3 times the cost.
Well, I think the thing is, if you're only limited to 5,000, that's not that limited. We all know that.
Well, the
5,000
numbers
is
go up and
not
down.
that small.
Well, and then I'm sure you have to deal with, and I don't know this, but I'm sure you have to deal with the undercutters, right?
Oh, yeah.
Comic books and Funko Pops. I'm sure it's the same. I'm sure for the 10 people who get it listed right away, sell for 500, then the undercutting game starts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my short Craigslist story. Dino, you sent me that link to the guy selling comics, and I got a few books from him. But while I was there, he had all these toys, not just Funkos, but other stuff. I was like, "Hey, man, do you care if I take some pictures of this and just look it up to see if it's anything that I'd be interested in or whatever?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't care. I don't really use eBay and whatever." So I didn't know anything about Pops, the Pop Price Guide website and blah blah blah. So I consulted the Oracle Mel, and
which is the first time he's been called that.
Right, and so he's like, yeah, I grabbed that one, and so I went back and grabbed those and made a good amount of money off those. So that's my only experience with Funko Pop. So I knew that it wouldn't happen again. So as far as I think I bought 3 more exclusives from those emails I've talked about. One of them sold. The other one hasn't sold yet, and then the third one is in the mail. So same thing, hit or miss, but at the same time, it stacks up a lot faster over these boxes than a couple issues of comics. So shout out to Mel for the help for the.
Yeah.
I think the pop market too. It's like, isn't the shipping? Like, isn't the shipping kill you too? I don't know. I've never.
They're not too big and they're not too heavy. I mean, I've sold games, and games. Games are probably just as heavy as one of those Funko boxes.
Mel says just ship it media mail.
Well.
But
I mean, you could get away with it shipping it media mail, couldn't you? Technically, Matt, there's no advertisement really.
No, well, media mail's usually advertisement, CDs, DVDs. I don't think it shouldn't.
Media mail was developed for colleges to send textbooks back and forth. That was the spirit of the whole beast.
Well, I mean, hey, we're trying to enhance things over here, okay?
Doesn't media mail though have to be a flat? It's got to be a flat package. It can't be like a Funko Pop would be a box. So I don't think you can ship media mail that thick.
No, media mail can be a box. It's a box of textbooks, 75 pounds or something.
Yeah, 75 pounds is the limit. Because you could think about it. You could send 20 trades in a big box, like a U-Haul box if you want, or something of that nature. I mean,
right.
The media mail is if they check it or not. That's the risk if you're going to go outside the rules.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't
Sorry,
know
go
what
ahead.
the longevity of pops are. I mean, I can't. I mean, obviously, there's a fan, and it's interesting. Like this article that I was reading was talking about how they were instead of being distributed to comic book stores, they were sent out to those other places like Walmart and Hot Topic, where they were able to capture a larger outside comic book audience, and they kind of just took off. Like they weren't very popular when they first came out, but when they started branching out to these different franchises, people started wanting to collect them. Like everyone, like I knew people who wanted the Breaking Bad set and just did Breaking Bad, and some people wanted the Game of Thrones and just did Game of Thrones. So like I wonder how the longevity, like if they just keep moving through those whatever pop culture puts out, I mean they could have a very long life. Longer than Beanie Babies, but there will be a stopping point where people will get. I mean, you could only have so many of these in your house theoretically.
And we talked about this too. It's like when you go to Hot Topic, a local comic book store, whatever, Walmart, Target. There's just so many of them, and like it's not like they're not neatly packed. Sometimes there's like different Funkos behind each other. It's like I would be sitting here on my phone the whole time looking at which one, I think it's just too much of an investment for me for time wise, to actually, if I got in the game, probably like a couple months, give me like 4 or 5 months, I probably could be like Mel and just look at them like, okay, this is like all garbage. But I think in the beginning, I think it's just too much investment time for me to get into it.
Yeah. They're long-term holds. I mean, comics are too, but if you're going to wait for them, if you're going to wait for the value to go up when someone dies or they're vaulted, then I mean, unless you somehow, I was told X figure was going to be vaulted soon, so I bought 6 of them, and then lo and behold, it was vaulted. I don't know how to find out. If you can tell us to know ahead of time when something's going to be vaulted, and you can buy it off Amazon for $7 a pop, let us know. But it was vaulted, and then I flipped those for I don't know, made like. I can't remember. I made a profit on each figure.
Made $1 a piece.
Right. I mean,
money's money, right?
Well, it was cool. The guy bought all of them at once. I was like, shit, save me on shipping. I'll send them out.
That's awesome. Here's the danger though with Funko, because you think about it. So it started in 2010, and it's now 2017. I wonder. I mean, I'm sure they're producing far more than they did the past 5 years, right?
Exactly.
So people who were vaulting ones from 2011, 12, 13, 14, those are probably really expensive because people are now really into it and want to finish their collections. Like I want all the Disney ones, and so they're going back, and all these are really expensive. And people who are stocking up on the ones now that are produced in the thousands, are those really going to be worth?
Right.
Money?
The word vaulted just won't mean the same thing.
It doesn't. Yeah, I think it means more for the ones that were vaulted 3 years ago, because you can't get them. You want the original.
And the business side of it. So you see, like you were talking about how Funko actually is trying to sell themselves off into a real big company, right? So you got a 7-year high, right? It's going to come down eventually.
It's going to come down, yeah.
And they're gonna. It's just like Netflix to Blockbuster, right? Somebody's going to try to acquire, Netflix for Funko Pops on. Nobody's going to pay the amount of money right now. They're going to buy them when they're pennies on a dollar and try to reboot them or do whatever they're going to do with them. So.
Right when they're coming down. I mean, maybe that's why they're selling themselves, is because they see that downward slope.
Yep, and I mean, if you're a good business person, that's what you would do. I mean, you're going to try to sell for the most you can.
I recall talking to our buddy John Brown, who has yet to show up on an episode because, well, he's got better things to do.
He does.
He had kind of done some researching, related more to comics, but on bubbles and collectibles and things. And he said the biggest ones he sees are about 15 years. So if you're halfway into 15 years with Funkos, you're heading to the downward slide.
Right.
Yeah, 15 years is a long time.
Well, and that was his like max number, 12, 15.
Yeah.
Wait, 15 years to keep?
No, that's from start to end of a bubble.
This says product life cycle.
Yeah. I mean, it would still be a smart purchase. I could see, one of the big toy companies picking them up. They could do pretty well with it for the next 5 years. And if you could rebrand it, I mean, but it works. Whatever they're doing right now, it works. So there's no way to.
And you got to think about it, Matt. It's not even a Funko name. It's all the licensing they have.
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter if it's Funko. It's the fact that they all look the same. They're all the same size. They're in the same box. They have a box number that it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Whatever character number is, they have a number. So you're almost the completist mentality, the collector mentality, makes you want to fill in those number gaps. I mean, it's really smart how they do them. So I mean, yeah,
they're for comics, huh?
Yeah, if they could do that for comics,
the comics are numbered; they're the same size,
right?
know?
Yeah,
fit in the box nicely.
So let's think about this. So say I'm a savvy businessman, and Funko comes to me and says, I'll even put an evaluation on Funko. Say it's worth $1 million. We'll say, how much do you think Funko's name's worth out of that $1 million? Or $100 million? $1 million probably. $2 million theoretically. I mean,
how much?
The actual name of Funko, Funko.com, Funko on the actual. I mean, to me, I think all the licensing's worth 98 million of the 100 million.
If they're going
to, they've got a unified licensing though.
Yep.
So. I don't know how. I mean, yeah, their partnerships are all all those partnerships are what's worth the most for them. But yeah, I don't know if you broke them apart. Like, Hasbro has their partnership and Mattel has their partnerships. So if like one of them bought Funko, it would kill off half of them.
Yeah.
I think the closest comparison to Funko is Lego. They work with everybody.
Well, there's offshoots of Lego, Creo and Mega Bloks. That's another topic for.
But those aren't Lego brand. Those are just Lego products, right?
They're different companies.
Yeah, they're not like subdivisions though. I'm just saying Lego works because they partner with whoever. They have Marvel and DC.
Oh yeah.
They have Star Trek. They have Star Wars. They have things that don't go together. They have licensing that expands beyond one studio, one group.
But you don't see Funko that's a good point. That is a good comparison because Lego is the premier, would you say, toy block market company. Funko really doesn't have a competitor, would you say? They're only
Lego doesn't either. I mean, there's distant thirds.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, the only person, that's a good point, Matt, that Matt brought up too. Mattel and Hasbro had their own partnerships. So, like you said, it would cut off half. I wonder if Funko actually approached Lego to buy them out because Lego has cross partnerships.
It would be smart, but Lego operates so well on just their brick system. They don't need it. They definitely don't need it. I don't know who they would go to because it would have to be someone pretty much. Yeah, I don't know. I think they would have a really hard time selling it because all they would have to sell is really just the name, like you said, the name, the website, and the style of.
Yeah, there's some patented sizing somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the way they look, with the big eyes, the big head, but a lot of people have been coming up trying to do the same thing.
And you got to think too, when you acquire that, we'll say, you got to. I'm sure Matt, you would know this. You would have to renegotiate your term based on Marvel and DC if you bought from another like say I bought Funko, I would have to renegotiate Marvel and DC, right?
Oh, I'm sure, and they wouldn't be able to because if like Mattel's obligated to DC and Hasbro's obligated to Marvel, they could not produce, like Mattel could not produce under their agreement with DC. They could not produce anything Marvel related unless it was something like some other deal.
Yeah, but what if I'm saying not even just Mattel and Hasbro? I would say as a say Joe Schmo down the street bought Funko because he hit the lotto,
Right.
He would have to actually negotiate Marvel and DC's
No, I think that would all come with it. I think
think so?
those relationships would come with it. I mean, it
You
would
buy
have to.
whatever the existing contracts are.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the job is to keep pushing it forward because their job is to keep trying for the new, the new pop culture, the new versions of, when Iron Man has a new suit, they want that current version, or there's a new character in Guardians of the Galaxy, they're gonna want to negotiate for that person, and I don't know. I mean, the licensing it's got to be nuts. I mean, that's all they do. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. It would be a really hard business to sell, and I don't know why they really would because it just works so well on its own.
But you said they are trying to sell.
They are trying to sell.
Maybe they see the writing on the wall. I don't
Yeah.
know what their numbers of their sales figures are.
I mean, you gotta think about this, and it's almost like a website in I guess. So say like AOL.com or something, right? So when AOL was the premier, provider, obviously, you would sell AOL for $1 billion. Would you take $1 billion, or would you take, in like 12 years down the line, would you take, 20 million? Like
Right.
Blockbuster.
Right.
Blockbuster was worth $1 billion at one point. Now they were worth pennies on a dollar. I think Funko sees that and like, hey, let's get out while it's kind of on its high horse. Yeah, if we leave, say Funko gets bought out for $1 billion, yeah, you might lose 1.5 billion, but at least you got $1 billion.
Well, yeah, I mean it's the same thing. If I'm going to sell a comic, graded or not, or whatever, now versus waiting the year for the extra $100, is it worth it?
Well, who knows if that? Well, would you even say extra $100? Because technically, you could go down $100.
Right. I mean, same if you're selling a big company for $1 billion. Like, so what if it's worth $1 billion, whatever, down the road? Kind of take your money and run.
No, that's true too. That's true too. Because I'm just looking right now. Okay, yeah, Funko is privately owned. I guess I didn't know this. I'm trying to do some research here. Yeah, they're privately owned, and I guess they had a merger and acquisition. Maybe you might know this, Matt, with Underground Toys Limited in 2017 in January. Did you hear about that?
Matt?
Did we lose Matt?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, what else we got? What the revisit Pops when Mel's on for a WWE show and see if we skipped anything.
I can talk to him about my one Funko Pop I have of Macho Man because it's badass.
Did you look it up on the price guide?
No, I didn't actually. I mean, I got it from. I think I got it like Hot Topic or LCS. I highly doubt it's worth anything. I just liked it because it was Macho Man.
Look it up for you right now.
Hey, hold on one second. Let me grab it. I got it. I don't even know the number.
One, two. There's 4 of them.
Well, I think that's the thing about Funkos is though, like they don't catch you with one thing and then the next thing gets your.
Yeah, I was looking at them. I mean, I have the Star Trek line at work, which is pretty cool, and then I have some of the turtles. But it's the same thing. Like if you want one, and then you just want to complete the run, the collector's series of Disney or X-Files or whatever.
Those were Secret Santa, weren't they?
Yes. Thank you to that Secret Santa. I think I know who he is.
Probably the only person that would know that was from Secret Santa.
It was number 10, Paul.
What
Big
colors?
money, big money, no whammies.
What color is his headband?
Orange, I think, or pink, or
With white stars.
yeah, it has white glasses too.
You got $14 there, my man.
Oh man, gotta go spend that right now.
There's one where he's got a pink headband on that goes for $85.
What's the stars color?
It's striped. I'll send you the link. Z, I don't. Are you on? Yeah. No, you're muted. You might be letting.
Oh, I do have a
I was dealing with the damn dog who.
They said it's a Churchill cover that eBay I sent you.
I saw that Churchill, but it looks like the Turner cover.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they mislabeled it.
Batman Superman 19 or whatever that one is.
Yeah, they labeled it Ian Churchill cover.
I don't know. It's not the right one because that's I don't know. We can talk about it later, but it doesn't look. It looks like a different cover.
That is Churchill.
Isn't that a Turner though?
No, he just did it in his style.
Oh, okay. It looks like another one though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The 19. Batman, Superman.
1917, something like that.
Yeah.
You ready, boys? I just made some money because I do have the stripe version of it.
Oh, no shit.
$85.
Nice. Throw it
up.
Yep, throw it up on eBay.
Dino is now in the Funko Pop business.
I just thought it was cool. I didn't. Oh, okay.
Sell your random version and buy the $14 version, and you just cashed out.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even know. Where did I pick that up at? I can't remember where I picked it up. I think I actually picked it up at like Hot Topic. We talk about it. I was like, I went to Hot Topic. I was like, whatever, man. Like, but that's cool.
Yeah, that's why you went to Hot Topic.
Well, I get. You know what's funny? I get most of my cool shirts at Hot Topic. Like people always ask me, like it's like comic book shirts and movie shirts. Like I'm a guy who wears like like a different shirt all the time. So it's like I had one that like a couple of weeks ago. It had marriage iguanas on it. And it had like an iguana holding some like a flowers, like they're at a wedding. It's like legalized marriage iguanas. So that's where I get my cool shirts at.
What's the other one? Spencer's Gifts.
Yeah, Spencer's is okay for t-shirts. It's I don't know. I guess I prefer Hot Topics stuff. It's cooler, I guess. I don't know.
What are you gonna pick? Hot Topic.
Yeah.
Hey Dino, if you order stuff from Hot Topics online, they'll send you hot cash in the box. I got a couple coupons back when the UK guys were ordering stuff, shipping it to my house. Like it would just be like, here's
that's such a ripoff, though. I mean,
$75 off your $90 order or something. There's some crazy ones.
Then the problem too is that's such a ripoff the hot cast. It's because it's like I don't go to the mall that frequently, at least all the time like that, because it's like the hot cast is only good for like the next like 30 days or 15 days or something like that. It's like and it's good usually like the Monday after you go to the so. But no, that's cool. I'm glad we talked about Funko Pops today. That's a plus for me.
I mean, I think there's there's enough collectors out there. Like when we were asking people, what do you want us to talk about? Many mentioned that they wanted to talk about Funko Pops. So
yeah, we'll probably throw up some more, probably another poll about something or other, and just. Let us know how we did again, and we'll go from there.
I'll make sure I put my Macho Man Funko Pop. I'll take a picture of it. Anybody want to buy it, let me know. So.
Nice.
Okay, so everybody's good. We're gonna close this one out, I think. So
Cool.
Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Yep.
See you guys.
See you, boys.
See ya.